Hey, Ryan. Let's see. There we go. All right, for folks who are just on the live stream right now, we will be jumping in just a couple minutes. So yeah, sit tight, and we'll be hopping on in just a few. Hi, Jessica. Good to see you.
Hey there, how are you?
Doing well. We're gonna let in the folks in just a moment here, but it is live on our YouTube. Just a heads up. So we are recording.
Okay.
If you have any concerns, obviously let me know, and hopefully the closed captioning is showing up on your end as well.
Yep, I see it.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, thanks for being here, and we'll hop in just a moment. I think we'll probably be about 5 minutes in before we turn it over to you. Does that sound good?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, wonderful. Hey, Ryan, hopefully you're able to hear me.
Yeah, yes, I am.
Perfect. Okay, so you are co-host, and hello, Tristan. I'll make you co-host as well.
Can you unco-host me after? Because when I'm a co-host, I can't vote.
Yes, yeah, I definitely can.
Yeah.
Yep. Wonderful. So if you all want to start admitting people, or I'll admit the initial batch, and then if you all could just keep an eye on it throughout the meeting, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'm admitting everyone that I can. If you could just take me off of it later.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Good to see you all.
Hey.
Hello, everybody. All right, we have some new faces this evening, a couple new senators who are joining us. So shout out to Sanskar Vyas, who's also in the room, it looks like. And Graham Avers, are you with us this evening? Might be joining in just a moment here. Yeah, and we'll do the formal induction process, Sanskar, so we'll give you a warm welcome in just a moment here, a little later in the agenda. As you all are joining in, any questions for me for this evening? Otherwise, I'll share my screen here in just a moment. We'll take a look at the agenda, and I'll also entertain any motions to change the agenda, the order, or anything that we're discussing this evening. I don't think I've said it before, but if you want to turn on your cameras, I'd appreciate that. The folks who are watching on the live stream will be able to see you if you do that. So yeah, we'd love to see your beautiful faces if you're comfortable with that. Obviously, no worries if you would prefer to keep it off, at least for the initial part of the meeting. We've got Jessica Kramer in the building this evening, or in the virtual room as a guest speaker. And we're hoping to make a motion for an additional guest speaker, Michael Buttram. Many of you know Michael from the Rams Against Hunger program. So just a heads up for that. If you'd be comfortable adding your pronouns, I would definitely appreciate that. So if you go to the participants tab, you can hover next to your name. There's 3 dots there, or you go to more and then you can rename yourself if you're comfortable. I definitely appreciate that just as a demonstration of inclusivity within the space. With that said, everyone looks to be joining in now. So welcome if you're just hopping on. We'll start in just a moment here. One thing you could do to save us some time, if you have an official title within the space and you want that before your name, you'll notice for associate senators, it's A period, S period. For senators, it's SEN period. For vice chairs, it's V period, C period, all of those things. And then obviously for chairs, many of you have that already. So if you'd be comfortable adding that, that'd be wonderful. I know that's part of parliamentary procedure, is acknowledging the roles and the titles. And obviously for many of you who have earned those, we want to recognize you for that. So yeah, I'd appreciate if you take a moment to do that. Looks like yep, just about at number. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we'll take a look at the agenda for this evening. Feel free if you have any motions for the agenda to start thinking through that right now. Is that showing up for you all? Hopefully. Okay. All right, so this is the 15th session of the Associated Students of Colorado State University 50th Senate. Here's what we have for this evening. Like I mentioned, Jessica Kramer, the environmental graphic designer and landscape architect from Facilities, will be speaking this evening, sharing some updates on facilities related projects. And we have 2 pieces of new business, one from our very own Senator Osterhout, Bill 5016, and then 5017, allocating additional funds to ensure complete elections. So that's the elections budget bill. And then we have 2 pieces of old legislation, the voter engagement campaign bill, and then the Ramps Against Hunger proposal for a permanent home, which is what hopefully if we add Michael Buttram here as a guest speaker, we'll be able to speak about that as well. So I'll open the floor for any motions at this point.
I raise the motion.
I have a motion.
Yeah, can we start with Vice Chair Athey?
Can I motion to put the voter engagement campaign bill at the top of confidence business because it has elections attached to it, and I would like to get those over with in the elections section.
Yeah, definitely. So you're looking at Bill 5013 right here. And Chair Boyko, we'll jump to your motion right after this if that works. So 5013, the motion there is to move this to, let's clarify, directly after reports, before reports. If we move that piece of legislation, we have to move all of confidence business. So I would advise that we move confidence business to right after committee reports. Would you be open to that?
Sure, I just was gonna move it to the top of confidence business, but that works
Right.
too.
So yeah, so we have to move all of confidence business, and then we have to move your bill to the top of confidence business, if that makes sense.
Okay,
So do you want to make that first motion to move confidence business to right after committee reports?
motion to move confidence business to right after committee reports.
Okay, is there a second on that?
Second.
Second.
Okay, with that, all in favor of that motion, please say aye.
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 And any opposed, please say nay. Okay, wonderful. So with that, it is right after committee reports. I see it looks like we have a question. Is that a point of information?
No, I just wanted to know if I need to wait to motion to expedite a bill.
That's right. Yes, you'll wait until we get to the bill itself once we start
Perfect,
reading
thank
it.
you.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so with that, if you could make that motion again, Vice Chair Athey, to move Bill 5013 to the top of confidence business.
Motion to move bill 5013 to the top of confidence business.
Wonderful. Is there a second on that?
Second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, please say nay. All right, wonderful. So Bill 5013 will be moved to the top of business here. And please correct me if I'm wrong here. We're just going to squeeze it in right there if that works. Not under ratification. Let's see. Hey, Parliamentarian Clark, what's the best way to do this? Since that motion's been made, should we put old business in front of new business? Would that be your proposal?
I would suggest to place old business at the top of confidence business as a whole, to which then you would have ratification of an election of officers and then new business, if that makes sense. But that's my suggestion.
Can I make
right,
an
this is-
suggestion, since I would like to move the allocating additional funds, ensure a complete elections budget after Ariadne's bill,
Mm-hmm.
since it's
Yeah,
also
let's-
elections.
Yeah, for sure. So let's reflect this real quick and then we'll make that change. So we will let's move old business. I'm so sorry, Vice Chair. Could you make that motion one more time to move old business in front of new business? That would be the easiest way to do this.
Motion to move old business in front of new business.
All right, there we go. We have a second. You all are seeing how the process gets done around here. All in favor, please say aye to move old business in front of new business.
Aye.
All right, wonderful. And forgiving the numbering is going to be very off on this, so appreciate your patience on that. Old business will be put before new business. Okay, with that, another motion, we have Chair Boyanko was on the floor, and then we'll jump to Chief Justice Daley for a motion. So Chair Boyanko, go ahead.
I motion to add Michael Buttram, Director of Rams Against Hunger, to the guest speaking list.
Cool. Is there a second on that?
Second.
All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. All right, wonderful. Mr. Buttram, hopefully I spelled your last name right, Buttram.
That's it. Sadly, yes.
All right, wonderful, wonderful. RAH stands for Rams Against Hunger, for those of you that aren't familiar. And then Chief Justice Daley will go to your motion.
I'd like to motion to move Bill 5017 to after Bill 5013.
Since it's a part of new business, would you be comfortable making the motion to put it right before 5016? Does that make sense?
That's fine.
Okay, let's do that. So there's a motion for that. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we've got a second on that. Motion is to move 5017 before 5016. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
All right, I only heard a couple voices there. Do you mind if we do that vote one more time? All in favor of moving 5017 before 5016, please say aye.
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 All right, any opposed, please say nay. All right, wonderful. We'll reflect that change right now. Any other changes to the agenda this evening?
I have a
All right,
question.
here. Yeah, question, Vice Chair Athey?
Because the voter engagement campaign bill involves an election, do we need to move ratification and election of officers?
I'm not intending to. I was planning to immediately open a space for that, a
Okay.
venue for that, since it's stipulated in the bill. Yeah, good
Sounds
question,
thank
though.
you.
Yep, of course. Right, any other motions? Okay, wonderful. Well, we'll go ahead and jump in here with our call to order. I call the 15th session of the Associated Students of Colorado State University Senate to order. We're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you wouldn't mind turning on your camera and unmuting yourselves, and we'll jump into that. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of
the United States of America, and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Awesome. Thank you, friends. And with that, if we can jump to the land acknowledgement. Is anyone wishing to read the land acknowledgement this evening? If so, feel free to unmute yourselves or raise your hand.
I can read it. I just need to pull it up real quick.
I got
Sounds
it
good,
pulled
Jacob.
up, Christian, so I could read it if you want.
Sure. Is that all right, Chair Tavar?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, Officer Crop, go for it.
Colorado State University acknowledges with respect that the land we are on today is the traditional and ancestral homelands of the Arapaho, Cheyenne, and Ute nations and peoples. This was also a site of trade, gathering, and healing for numerous other native tribes. We recognize the indigenous peoples as original stewards of this land and all the relatives within it. As these words of acknowledgement are spoken and heard, the ties nations have to their traditional homelands are renewed and reaffirmed. CSU is founded as a land-grant institution, and we accept that our mission must encompass access to education and inclusion, and significantly that our founding came at a dire cost to Native nations and peoples whose land this university was built on. This acknowledgement is the education and inclusion we must practice in recognizing our institutional history, responsibility, and commitment.
Awesome. Thank you, Officer Kropp. All right, with that, Speaker Pro Tem Reyes, are you able to take the beginning roll call?
Yes, I am, Mr. Speaker. Give me one moment.
Okay. And for those who are watching in the live stream right now, there are 49 folks in the call. You're only seeing about 7 of them, but there are quite a few in the room, just for clarification.
All right, I am done, Mr. Speaker.
Wonderful, thank you. With that, we'll move on to swearing in of new senators and associate senators. So we have Sanskar Vyas from the International Programs Office and Graham Avers from the College of Engineering, Walter Scott College of Engineering. Are you with us, Graham? Let's see, might not be with us this evening. Yeah, it doesn't look like. Okay, so with that, we'll just jump in. Sanskar, is it Vyas? Am I saying your last name right?
Yes, you're saying it right.
Okay, wonderful. Well, with that, Chief Justice Daley, do you mind if I turn it over to you for the oath of office?
Absolutely. If you could just repeat after me. I state your name.
Sanskar Vyas,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to defend and uphold
to defend and uphold
the rules and regulations
the rules and regulations
set forth by the Constitution
set forth by the Constitution
of ASCSU
of ASCSU
and will rightfully perform
and will rightfully perform
the duties of my office
the duties of my office
to the best of my ability.
with the best of my ability.
Awesome. Can we give a warm welcome
Thank you.
to Senator Vyas? Congratulations, my friend. And if you haven't gotten the chance yet, there's a text remind. If you text here, let me pull it up here just to make sure we have it in line. While I'm doing that, I should mention Senator Vyas and I connected last week, and he has some incredible ideas for campus, for ways to improve the relations with international students, everything from resources to communication to the onboarding process. I was truly impressed, and I know obviously Mark Hallett was the director of international programs. So I would encourage you to reach out to Senator Vyas if you get the chance, just to explore his thinking on some of those issues. Definitely very valuable. And with that, I'll share my screen just real quick for you, Senator Vyas, if you haven't gotten the chance yet. If you go and you text, this is also for any new senators or any community members who want to get updates from Senate. If you go text the message at ASCSU 2020 to 81010, you'll receive text reminds about just general information, events, Zoom links, all of that. So I would encourage you to do that if you get the chance. And with that, we will go ahead and move on to guest speakers. So with that, Jessica Kramer, the environmental, oh, I'm sorry, is there a point of information?
Yes, I'm sorry. We have 2 elections committee members here from last week that need to be sworn in.
Oh, thank you for reminding me. Yep. Do you want to administer the oath of office, Chief Justice Daley, for, is it Noah and Anya, if I'm remembering right?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, go ahead.
I can. Is everyone ready?
Yeah.
Awesome. If you could repeat after me, please. I state your name.
I, Noah Healy.
Are we supposed to be doing this at the same time?
Yes. I'll give you a sec. I can repeat it. I state your name.
I, Anya,
Noah Healy.
Do solemnly swear
do
solemnly swear
to defend and uphold
to
to
defend and
defend and
uphold
uphold
the rules and regulations
the rules and regulations
set forth by the Constitution
set
set
forth by the
Constitution
of ASCSU
of
of
ASCSU
ASCSU
and will rightfully perform
will rightfully
perform
the duties of my office
the duties of my office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my
to the
ability.
best of my ability.
Wonderful. Congrats, everyone. All right, with that, we'll move on to consent agenda. Is there any dissent to approving the minutes from last meeting, February 17? All right, hearing none, the minutes are approved. Moving on to guest speakers, Jessica Kramer, environmental graphic designer and landscape architect from Facilities Management. We are so excited to have you this evening, and I can make you a co-host if you would like, if you intend to share screen. Otherwise, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I guess if that's the way to, yeah, allow me to share screen, that'd be great.
Yeah, for sure. I'll jump on that right now. All right, you should be good to go.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for having me here tonight. Can you see my screen? It says facilities related committees.
Yes.
Across campus?
Yeah,
Great.
you're all set.
All right. I'm going to try to keep an eye on the time and not go over because I know you got a lot to talk about. I am an environmental graphic designer and a landscape architect in facilities. I'm also the interim co-chair of the Inclusive Physical and Virtual Campus Committee. And tonight I'm going to talk to you a lot about facilities related committees, either ones that facilities run or that we're involved in for physical facilities. So starting out with the big ones, the CSU Master Plan Committee and the Physical Development Committee. These are the committees that really impact a lot of the buildings and big pieces and parts that you see on campus. The Master Plan Committee is primarily charged with really strategic mission, focusing on the highest best use of land on campus, whether that's new buildings, building additions, including locations, heights, design. We're really focused on the future from the planning standpoint. We look at roads, parking, access, open plazas, open spaces, plazas, courtyards, view corridors. We have a whole master plan for each one of the campuses here in Fort Collins. I will send over this presentation so that you all can receive it as a PDF. So that way you can see the web links. We've got almost all these committees have their own separate web pages. This is the Main and South Campus Master Plan. This is something we're required to do by the Board of Governors every 10 years to update this for all of our campuses here in Fort Collins, showing, where we plan to keep buildings, where we plan to add buildings, floodplains that are in here in blue, open spaces, parking, all of that. We also have bike and roadway individual plans. We have sub-area plans for South Campus and even for just small areas within main campus itself. So for context, there's 4 ways to look at master planning. Physical context, we are running out of space on all of our campuses. So we really are in the mode of not trying to build any new buildings. We need to remodel what we have and call go up. We need to add space, consider making our buildings taller. Politically, we have a legislative mandate by the Board of Governors who in the last few years have said we need to build fewer new facilities. We need to invest in the maintenance and ongoing facilities. We have a demographic context. We assume that we will have 35,000 full-time students by 2035. And we anticipate that by 2025, we will start to see freshman enrollment decrease because of demographics. If I see someone's hand up, should I answer now or do you want me to wait?
I'd say let's wait until the end if that's all right, but I'll make note of the folks who do raise their hand.
Okay. And we do all of our master planning in conjunction with different colleges and departments, and they all say they have demand, they just need more space. So what we look at are things like the Clark Building. I know that's really high on everyone's list on the campus community. We call that the Clark Building revitalization, whether we're gonna tear down, add on to it. We approved formation of a stakeholder advisory committee, which included all the departments that would be going into the building in 2018. We had to stop with the program plan with the pandemic and budgetary constraints really obviously put a suspension on any new buildings, but the Board of Governors has recently said, as recent as their last meeting, which I believe was last week, they said this is and it has been and will continue to be the first priority for building redevelopment on campus when our budget constraints ease. We are considering redeveloping the Glover building and tearing down physiology and environmental health building to create one large biomedical institute. The master plan committee also looks at such things as the new University Avenue streetscape design that's going on in front of Shepherdson that was recently installed in front of the Michael Smith building. And then the CSU Physical Development Committee is a little bit different. We look more at the day-to-day campus experiences such as signage, wayfinding, lighting, newspaper racks, banners. They oversee the naming of buildings unless it's donor related. That's a different committee. Look at the transit system and see how it serves campus. And the Physical Development Committee also provides oversight of the University Public Art Committee, which I will mention later. Both of these committees, the Master Plan Committee and the Physical Development Committee, consist of deans, department heads, chief of police, head of athletics, head of the library, student affairs. We have typically had ASCSU representatives on these committees, and we have it right now, but it's a pretty large constituency that makes up both of those committees. And facilities helps facilitate that. We as staff bring forward our proposals for master plan, and then different departments and colleges proposals for plans on campus. Some of the recent proposals approved by the PDC included, if you saw it, the temporary illuminated display of the Martin Luther King Jr. quote on the administration building on MLK Day. PDC has approved solar panels on buildings in terms of the locations, the standards, what it should look like, working in conjunction with our utility infrastructure. They approved the illuminated sign that's mounted to the exterior of Animal Sciences. We typically don't allow illuminated signs on campus except in rare occasions. The Visual Arts Building came to us with an exterior mural project, which resulted in one of their pieces being the Black Lives Matter mural. They also approved covered transit shelter designs and actual locations. The next committee I'm going to talk about is the Inclusive Physical and Virtual Campus Committee. That's the one I mentioned that I'm interim chair of until a new vice president for diversity is selected. So we have, as a committee, we have been charged with creating and maintaining inclusive design standards, and we use that through the facilities management process. So that is for new construction as well as additions and even renovations. If they come up to a certain size or if they touch plumbing, we have standards that pull those pieces of inclusivity into effect. We ensure that those standards are being met. We review all the plans that come forth through facilities. It's quite a bit of work to do that. We ensure that periodic audits are conducted for compliance and to help identify high priority needs and strategies of how to go forward with different inclusivity needs and requests. And then we obviously look at different requests for waivers. If a building just can't get plumbing to a lactation room, we might say, okay, we will grant you an exception of not including the sink in that lactation room. We'd rather have a lactation room in that building that doesn't have a sink rather than just not have a lactation room at all. So some of the approved inclusive physical design standards that have been adopted and are in place now. So this goes into effect for any new buildings being planned and renovations being planned. All gender restrooms, lactation rooms, reflection spaces, commuter showers, break rooms, changing tables for children in restrooms. We have recently adopted a new standard for in our all gender restrooms going forward, is that we will not have automatic flushing toilets or dryers. We've had people come to the inclusivity committee mention that they have sensory disorders. A lot of times they're neurological disorders that cause them to flinch physically when an unexpected noise happens. And they made the case that there are all the restrooms, including the single stall restrooms in the LSC, all either have automatic flushing toilets or dryers. And if they're in a multi-stall restroom and someone presses one of those, or one of those automatic flushing toilets just goes off on its own, they can get startled, and a person who's been in a wheelchair has this disorder, has fallen off the toilet before. And this was not something we were aware of. So we started to incorporate this into the Temple Grandin Equine Center out at Foothills. That was the first instance of this. We have signage now that lets people know why we don't have it. We also have accessible restroom standards that go above and beyond, I would say, Americans with Disabilities Act, to really point out that there's things that the ADA, as it's called, requires that aren't actually all that accessible or inclusive for people. We've worked with staff and students from the Student Disability Center to really work on those standards to say what works better, what doesn't work better. If you're aware of the online map, the maps.colostate.edu, if you hover over the left side, inclusive resources comes up, and you can click on and see where all the all gender restrooms are in each building. It will give you information as to where exactly it is in the building, what room it is, lactation rooms, the reflection spaces. We're in the process of converting 16 commuter showers to be publicly accessible. And when I say publicly accessible, meaning accessible to all the campus community with a key card. So adding some safety features to those. And as soon as those are available, we'll add those to the map. And we're also going to be placing the locations of baby changing tables on this map as well. So inclusivity standards under discussion by the committee that we're working with various groups on campus too are automatic door openers. There is nothing in ADA or building codes that says you have to have an automatic door opener at an entry. We have that as a matter of course and a matter of best practices with architects, but we want to state that there needs to be at least one at a building entry and at least one to a classroom. We don't have any standards that say classrooms need to have automatic door openers, and that is really very unequitable to students and staff, faculty who come and need to use the classrooms. We've also said we want to have automatic door openers in it for the restrooms in buildings, at least one women's, one men's, and if there's an all gender restroom, to have an automatic door opener. Again, it's a case of equity and basic life, health, and safety. We are creating inclusivity standards for adult changing tables. We have a lot of guests who come to our campus. We have a lot of kids who come here and use programs. And we recently had a mom, I guess this must have been 2 years ago, definitely before the pandemic, that it was associated with the Little Shop of Physics. She asked if we had any adult changing tables because her son is in 8th grade and has a caregiver and he needs help, going to the restroom. He needs an actual changing station, and we don't have such a thing. So we are obtaining portable ones, but we want to be able to have an actual standard for when we go forward and build new buildings, that these will be incorporated permanently into the building. And then other standards under discussion are accessible paper towel dispensers, faucets, flushers, whether we should put hand dryers in, allowing medical use in lactation rooms, accessible classroom standards. We don't have any classroom standards that talk about accessibility, accessible technology, accessible lecterns. I've had a lot of faculty that say they can't reach some of the areas to be able to give presentations in the classrooms, and that's a problem. We also are we have a pilot project underway that I oversee on including exterior signs with Braille. It's not required by ADA, so we're trying to test out different materials to see how that works. If you'd like to dig into what standards we actually have, I've listed the 2 websites. As I mentioned, I can send this as a PDF so everyone can kind of check that out. And this is all on facilities website, but you can go to our construction standards, and then you can also see the drawings that have location maps that talk about the vicinity of lactation rooms, reflection rooms, and showers. I do want to mention one specific thing, that's the all gender restrooms. I do get asked about this a lot, just the history and context of it. In 2016, we inventoried all the single stall restrooms on Main, South.
Hey, Jessica, you're cutting out just a bit there.
We needed to actually follow building code to allow which ones could be converted. Some building fixtures don't. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's okay now. I don't know if there's a spot that maybe it's your Wi-Fi. I think you're back now. Can you hear us, hopefully?
Okay. Can you hear me now? Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's cutting out just a little bit, but I think you're okay now. Okay.
So where it was feasible, we converted 195 of those, and we now with new conversions and new buildings, we have over 300 all gender restrooms. We can't always convert all the single stall restrooms in buildings to an all gender restroom because of building code. It depends on the number. The Inclusive Campus has a website which you can go to, and if you have an inclusivity issue or request, you can report it there. Or you can also go through the Assistive Technology Resource website to put a comment in about an electronic accessibility that you might need. We have a tree advisory committee, and this helps to really look through, make sure our tree species is diverse and we're following best management practices. We've been deemed a tree campus higher education site because of the great management practices that we have. Typically, the committee hosts an Arbor Day celebration every year, and where students or anyone gets to help plant a tree. Because of the pandemic, we had to cancel that last spring. So 150 trees were planted in honor of the 150th anniversary of CSU, with which was all donor related, so funded, I should say. We have a pollinator-friendly campus community, and this can, and as part of the President's Sustainability Commission, so we do have some pollinator beds that are very specific around campus to attracting bees and other pollinators. Clark A pollinator bed might be the one you're most familiar with. We have some temporary signage in there that we'd like to get updated to really inform people about how we are trying to be a more sustainable campus, and this is one of the ways we can do that. And then last is the University Public Art Committee. Any work of art that's placed in a public place on campus, subcommittee of the Physical Development Committee. We meet on a quarterly basis to review proposals and ultimately either send back for more information or give direction on what we need to see. Any art that really goes through CSU in this process has to be put out to a call to entry to all artists. So departments can't say, I want to have artist X do this mural on our wall. It needs to be accessible and inclusive, so that any artist can. You will see that some of our public art on campus is funded through the state. The Colorado Public Art and Public Places program requires that 1% of all capital construction takes that budget for public art. So you'll see the globes that glow at chemistry research is an example of that. There's new, in the picture on the left on the top is new artwork at the addition to the AZ building. There's interior architecture art inside of the TMI building. So that was all funded and required by the state. And so the Public Art Committee helps select artists and works with facilities to ensure that it gets installed properly.
Hey, Jessica, I think we might have lost you again there. I don't know if I'm alone in that.
So with that, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I think you're back now. Yep.
Okay. Can you still see my screen?
It went dark. You might have gone one slide too
here.
far.
There's nothing very critical on there. It's just my email, and then mentioning that we often like to have student representatives on these committees, and we have some right now, but we'd like to also come, like myself, come quarterly or more on a regular basis to ASCSU and let you know about updates of what's going on with all physical projects on campus. So really, that was a big long-winded explanation of what's going on with facilities right now.
Wonderful. Yeah, thank you, Jessica. And if you could do me a favor, send me those slides. I'll send that out to the group. It's also really timely. I know McKenna Dolly is working with Executive Branch University Affairs, just working on exactly that too, to try and fill some of those seats. So I think there's a Sign Up Genius in circulation. I can also send that out for folks to start putting their name on the list. For those who are listening right now, you can get outreach hours for participating in any of those committees. So just a heads up on that. Jessica, do you mind if we open maybe we'll take 2 questions? Is that fair?
Yeah, I'm going to stop sharing just so we can see these faces.
That works. So we had Senator Nivert. Do you want to go ahead? And just if you keep it as brief as possible, that'd be wonderful.
I was going to ask where we could find some of this information, but if you're going to send it out to us, then we'll see it. So it won't matter. So never mind.
Okay. Yeah, no, sounds good. Any other questions? Jessica, I might pose one to you, just one question regarding campus building improvements. So you mentioned Glover, you mentioned Clark. what role does the Inclusive Physical Access Committee, I know I probably didn't get the whole committee name right. What role does that committee play in analyzing the blueprints and the plans for those buildings? Or do they only come in during construction? Do they come in after to do an evaluation? What's the involvement between the two?
Actually, we come in at the program plan and say, okay, we understand that there's these plans afoot to revitalize Clark or to put a new building in Glover, or out at IDRC is talking about a new building. We say, okay, we want to, when you're creating a program plan, which is kind of like the big wish list, right, for the departments. And this is, they get to kind of put together, what do we want? We say, okay, don't forget these inclusivity standards mean because there's no lactation room around you, you need to include one, or there's no shower around you, you need to do that. Remember that these inclusivity standards exist and these are things that you need to adhere to. And so then after the program plan is kind of, it's a written narrative, we get to review that and remind them, because a lot of times these go to architectural consultants and they forget some of these things, or they tell us, oh,
right,
we know all about ADA. And we're like, our standards are different. So, and at each phase of the blueprints, as the designs come in, we review each time.
Nice.
So to ensure that those things are included.
Yeah, it's good to know. Thank you. And then we have Chair Rossler, if you want to go ahead, and then we'll go ahead and jump over. Jessica, if you also want to leave your email in the chat while we're going through, that'd be wonderful. Yeah, go ahead, Chair Rossler.
Thanks for being here, Jessica. I really appreciate the presentation. I was actually having a question similar relating to that same board. I was wondering if they also oversee UFAB proposals prior to them being proposed.
No, we do not. However, because I work in facilities, I often catch wind of that. And so I will actually work with the group that helps put together the proposals. I'm like with RCS mentions to me, hey, plant science wants a break room. And I said, hey, don't forget to look at the inclusivity standards, because a lot of times that might change the cost of the project. So, but even if that doesn't happen ahead of time, RCS or the architects know that they have to go back and make adjustments for that. So.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Awesome. Well, with that, friends, can we give Jessica, just a round of applause. Thanks for coming this evening. And yeah, if you could go ahead and send that PowerPoint to me, that'd be wonderful. And yeah, it looks like your email, if you're able to drop that in the chat as well, that'd be wonderful.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. And I'll route any additional questions to you
Yes.
if I receive any.
Or if anyone wants to reach out to me directly, they can feel free to email me too. And I'm perfectly
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Sounds good.
Thanks.
All right. Wonderful. Thank you. So with that, we'll jump over to Michael Buttram. Are you with us, Director Buttram?
I am. Thank you, Christian.
Yes. So you have the floor, and feel free. You can pass it between any of the folks who are writing that legislation if you'd like. I can make you a co-host. Are you planning to share your screen?
I can. Yeah. I can definitely show a bit of a PowerPoint as well here, if you don't mind. And then I think I would also be asking Gemma to join me, and maybe she'll be outlining some of the costs and a few of the pictures that we have.
That sounds good. All right, you all have the floor.
All right, great. I'm going to see if I can get and excuse me. Let me see if I can get to a slideshow here. Pardon me, I can't see where the slideshow begins here. One moment, I'm going to stop sharing.
Oh yeah, no.
Make sure I know where the slideshow is. And I'll try that again. Thanks for your patience, y'all.
Of course.
Oh, shoot. I don't believe I can get to it. We're going to look at it this way.
Yeah, that sounds good. You can also try, Michael, if that's helpful on the bottom right there, what looks like a wine glass right next to the negative sign and the scale that you can on the very bottom right corner there. Yeah, the one right there.
That's it. Yeah, thank you.
There you go. Yeah, of
Much
course.
appreciated, Christian. All right. Well, first, I really want to thank you all for just really express my gratitude for the work that you all are doing. Specifically, I've had the chance to work closely this semester and last with Gemma and Benton, along with Gabby Brown, Aaron Freeman. And this team has been a powerhouse of commitment and energy on the issue of food insecurity. I know that all of you are doing equally great things around other issues that are affecting our campus community. And so hats off to all that you're doing. But yeah, my specific appreciation in this moment goes to Benton and Gemma for really being a powerhouse here. We have submitted, and by we, I'm going to say Rams Against Hunger has submitted a proposal to UFAB. So this is kind of closely tied to our last speaker, for a total of $402,000 for the renovation of the General Services Building, the GSB, and that's going to be the southeast quadrant of the first floor to be used as a permanent home for the Rams Against Hunger food pantry. So as you all might know, and this picture on the left here, that is where our current iteration of the food pantry is, and that's out of the LSC theater. Obviously,
Sam, I'm so sorry. I'd like to make a motion, please, due to the fact that we are required to send out PowerPoints via the 24 hours in advance. This is for an accessibility issue, so it's a point of sorry. I should say point of personal privilege. Obviously, we've gone through one tonight and we were rectified of the issue. I really don't want to go through another PowerPoint. I understand Michael Butcher would like to present, and I'm more than happy to hear him speak. However, he should not be using any visual documents that were not sent out 24 hours in advance at the minimum.
Okay.
Great.
I can see where you're coming from. Is that okay, Michael?
Oh, totally. No, that's absolutely fine. To be perfectly honest, I wasn't going to speak from a PowerPoint until I just saw the last speaker do it, and I thought, well, I have a PowerPoint that serves this purpose. But I'd feel very comfortable just speaking and chatting with y'all and trying to answer any questions that you might have about this. So, yeah, happy to do so. All right, so to pick up where I left off there, we've just submitted that proposal. We are invited to present next week to UFAB, as requesting a total of $402,000 for the renovation of the General Services Building. As I was mentioning, the LSC is the LSC Theater is the current home of our Rams Against Hunger Pantry. We serve about 320 people per week. Last week was a gangbusters week. It was very, very busy. I left the pantry this evening and we will be well over 100 visitors tonight during the middle of a snowstorm. So I'm going to stress over and over that the pronounced need is there. And with the understanding that the theater will go back to being a theater at some point when COVID allows, probably sooner than later, we are very, very actively seeking another location for us to house this pantry. The pantry, let me speak clearly. The pantry was always needed prior to COVID. COVID has just exacerbated the situation. Even prior to COVID, the best data that we have, and this comes from the #RealCollege survey, which you'll see has gone out this year as well. Maybe you all received those emails and hopefully you participated in, but it tells us that 32% of CSU's student population is experiencing food insecurity at some level. And that's pretty much in line with national averages at this point. When we know that that's the fact and we have the capacity for doing something about it, it goes in direct contrast to our principles of community to stand idly by. So we're pushing forward. We as SLICE, the Student Leadership Involvement and Community Engagement, we as the partnership between ASCSU and Rams Against Hunger, which has been strong in the form of a few bills that you all know about that are currently pushing this agenda and helping Rams Against Hunger provide the services that we do. So that's where we are right now. The proposal is for Bill 5014 is to offset some of the amount that we're requesting from UFAB. The reason being, UFAB is looking at over $4 million worth of proposals with less than $2 million worth of funding to give out. Anything that we can do to make our proposal more fundable is in our best interest, obviously, and hopefully streamlines our ability to get this one passed. Not to mention, it demonstrates that the will of those representing the constituency is behind this. And so I think it's a very powerful statement if we're looking at how that might play out. I would mention that in addition to this, we have $50,000 coming from the development office. We have a donor who has stepped in generously to say that this is within that person's purview, and that this is something they want to see moved forward. So we know that we have funding coming from that source as well. So that would really mean that we're cutting the cost down when we're asking for UFAB to support this by a quarter, which I think is going to go a long way in helping us make this one that gets approved. I really want to mention how I view food justice as social justice, and if as I was talking, the principles of community are our commitment to social justice, inclusion, service. These three in specific are manifest in our Rams Against Hunger programming. And I think that this is the chance for us as a team, Rams Against Hunger, ASCSU, the student body, to step forward and say, this is how we respond to those who are not having the same level of access. And when I say the same level of access, there's a great quote by a gentleman named Vincent Tinto, and he says that access without support is not opportunity. And I think that hits it head on. That's spot on. If we're inviting folks to come in, folks who have been from traditionally disenfranchised communities and who can step into our door and come into, have a visitor, sorry. But we're inviting them to come in and study with us, and then leaving them without the support that is necessary to academically achieve. We're not living out our values. We're not living out our principles of community. So for this reason, I think that this is the way we demonstrate it. This is the way we step forward and show who we are and live up to those values, live up to the creed that Rams really do take care of Rams. I want to see if Gemma is able to show the line items that we are proposing would be funded by Bill 5014, and also the drawings of what the new renovation might look like. Is that possible, Gemma?
I can. They were sent out in the weekly email. I just need sharing permissions.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and make you a co-host here.
Perfect.
And I do want to apologize. The email that went out at 11 on Tuesday night. That's not 24 hours in advance. That's on me. That's against our bylaws. So I hope y'all can forgive me on that, and I'll be more on time with that next week. So Gemma, you are now co-host. Sorry, Chair Blanco. I'm so sorry, Chair Blanco.
That's okay. Hold on. All right. Here we go. These are the line items. So the ones stipulated in the bill are CSU facilities, electrical, XELEXC. I think we were calling XELEC in committee for fun. And that is power for 2 condenser cooler freezers, office break room, and main storage room. And then the other line items for the $29,350 is for CSU Facilities Extra, which constructs 2 offices, 1 break room, and 1 restroom. And then these items were chosen because they have the most direct influence and contact with students and the shoppers at Rams Against Hunger, the potential Rams Against Hunger food pantry. And then we also have the renderings. So here is where the potential renovation would occur. This is the east public entrance, and that's their service entrance. This east public entrance is on the one-way street that leads into the Oval. It's called Libby Coy Way. And then this is an option for what the renovation would look like. Mike, feel free to chime in if I'm getting anything wrong or if you want to fill in the gaps.
No, this is great. I would only draw attention to the location there. We were looking for something that is central and yet also offers people some privacy if that's what they prefer when visiting the pantry. Its proximity to the Max station is very beneficial. It's going to make it a lot easier to walk away with a full load of food and get on the Max. We're hoping that we'll have the same sort of support and luck with parking services to be able to have a couple of spaces there as well, allocated towards the pantry, making pickup of food that much easier for our clients. And again, to reiterate, this is the clientele that's visiting us is primarily students, but recognizing that we are one community, Rams Against Hunger serves our staff, our faculty, and there are a large number of the staff members that you see on a daily basis here doing so much to keep our campus functioning, who are visiting the campus or who are visiting the pantry and making sure that their families at home have enough to eat especially during a time like this when maybe another family has a job loss. So, pardon, Gemma, please, or Chair Buenko, go ahead.
All right, here's our options. Again, these are the coolers in the first part of the line item that we were talking about. And again, coolers and freezers in the back. And then here are your offices that we were talking about as well. And then the restroom or the break room up in this corner up here.
And can I clarify there as well, just what specifically? The large walk-in space at any given moment on the floor of the LSC Theater at this time, we have literally thousands and thousands of pounds of food that we go through in a week. And we are giving those deliveries, and I'm going down to pick those things up from the Food Bank of Larimer County. Our strong partnership with the food bank allows us to get it at pretty much rock bottom prices. But we need the storage space for it. Those freezers, that walk-in freezer and that walk-in cooler allow us to keep the food on hand so that we can serve the amount of people that are coming through the doors on a daily basis. We are looking toward the time when we can offer more of a shopping experience. There's a lot more agency in that. There's a lot more dignity in that experience rather than being handed a box that's been pre-made for you. So if you would imagine with me, that back of house, the green grayish area is going to be where most of the storage is. The customer experience will be in the front of house, and there will come a time when it's more of a shopping experience where folks can say, oh, I'd like this much yogurt, and do you have oranges today? Do you have apples? We'll be going back and forth to stock those shelves, and it'll be a different experience that we hope to get towards once COVID has relaxed. So.
All right, and here's our second option.
And the offices there, I would let people know that strong partnership with the Food Bank of Larimer County allows for us to have on staff all through the open hours of the pantry, somebody who is a SNAP benefit specialist. This year we've connected over 200 students. Well, maybe I shouldn't say we, the Food Bank of Larimer County has connected over 200 students with SNAP benefits through their work that they're doing at the pantry right now. And this means, $100 to $200 that's offsetting those monthly costs. And that's enough to keep a student who may have had to consider dropping out in school and fed and well-nourished. And it makes a big, big difference. So we wanna make sure that person has a space that is private and that they can conduct those interviews in there and make sure that person gets connected with SNAP benefits.
Great. And then here's our renderings of what the front of house would look like. This is the grocery shopping experience that Michael was just speaking about. And then again, here's your office, the front of house, and then kind of a overhead view of what the front of house would look like. Great. All right. Well, let me stop sharing. All right.
Well, once again, I really appreciate the chance to speak with you all tonight. I'd love to answer any questions if we have the time.
Yes, yeah, we do. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Buttram and Chair Boenko and everyone else who was an author on this legislation. Y'all are doing amazing work. Any questions for Michael Buttram? Yeah, Speaker Pro Tem Reyes, floor.
Yeah, thank you so much, Michael and Chair Boyanko, for your presentations. Y'all are doing amazing work that is so desperately needed on our campus, especially right now. So I wanted to say thank you for that. My question is, I know you had said that the Food Bank of Larimer County has like case management that's connecting students to SNAP benefits. Is there any, would you believe that there would be any opportunity for like in-house case management as far as that goes? Not necessarily just for like food insecurity, but people who are facing food insecurity needing to come to the food pantry probably have other needs, whether it be housing insecurity, mental health, substance use, whatever it might be. Have you thought about adding a case management person to your team?
Mr. S, you asked the right question here. Yes, we have been, the relationship that we have with the food bank for SNAP benefits is also looped in with case management. So at this moment, as a matter of fact, we have somebody from case management at the pantry right now who is conducting those SNAP benefits screenings. And so at certain times, it's going to be somebody from case management. At certain times, it's that person who is grant funded, but from the Food Bank of Larimer County. But that relationship also brings in case management. So we operate in tandem with one another. We have kind of an informal basic needs team that's going on here in partnership with Off-Campus Life, with Rams Against Hunger, with case management. And we've been doing this work together, recognizing that these, as you point out, these issues go in hand in hand. When somebody is facing food insecurity, it is highly likely they might be facing housing insecurity or could be facing housing insecurity in the future. Also, of course, this comes in tandem with some mental health needs. And so we really want to address this holistically. My vision, the long-term vision for this location, is for it to become more of a basic needs center, a basic needs location where we can address those and have kind of a hub for those services. So I appreciate that question. It really is looking into the future, and it's where we need to be.
Yeah, thank you so much for your answer. And then I guess as far as that goes, I know you had presented two options as far as like layout goes, and I know it's not necessarily final, but what does, or like what you or your team, what option are you looking at that would be better for you and the Rams Against Hunger?
It's a mix of the two. When you see those two options, you'll have noted perhaps that the entrance to the front of house where the shopping experience happens had two different options. One of those enters into the same passageway where the testing center is housed. And we don't want to do that. We want to be good neighbors. We want to keep the noise. We want to reduce noise in that hallway as much as possible. So we're hoping to take that rendition on the one option, and then the back of house, we want to keep our pathway from the loading doors where we would be receiving the majority of our palleted food. And we want to keep that as clear as possible. So we would be taking, it's option one on the back of house, option two on the front of house. We're blending those two.
Yeah, I think that was all the questions I had. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, it looks like we have time for about one more question. So Chief of Staff Sloss, go ahead. And then if you have any other questions, I'd encourage you, Director Buttram, if you have the chance to drop your email in the chat. I'm also happy to reroute any questions to you. But yeah, go ahead, Chief of Staff.
Yeah, I mean, excuse me, part of me wants to yield for redundancy. I was kind of going to ask the same question as Pro Temp Reyes and just which was the preference, and it sounds like melding the two. If and hopefully when this gets approved, does that happen down the road, or will that be something that has to be voted on specifically, or that just kind of gets put into the works?
As it is, that was an earlier rendering. So the final presentation that we're going to take to UFAB next week is actually that blend, which I had just spoken about. And that's just being prepared by our friends at facilities management and the folks who do the renovation drawings. They're accomplishing that right now for us. And yeah, that's what we'll be headed into the meeting with.
Thank you, Mr. Buttram. That answers my questions. And thank you for all the work you do. Same goes for Food Insecurity Specialist Freeman, Chair Rossler, and Chair Bianco.
Thank you.
Well, with that, yeah, thank you again, Director Buttram. And if you all are in favor of this plan that's been laid out, Director Buttram, is there a way for them to email maybe the UFAB chair or the vice chair just expressing support for this? I know I intend to do that as well as some other folks on our team.
To be honest, I don't know the protocol for that, but we may be able to find that out for you, and I can get that to you if and maybe that could be disseminated among the Senate.
For sure. Yeah, that'd be wonderful. Yeah, and if nothing else, just for them to see of the folks in this room, obviously our vote tonight will be an indication of our support for this. But yeah, I thought I'd mention that. So thank you again, Director Buttram, for sharing. Could we all give just some virtual gratitude for Michael and his team and everything they're doing?
Thank you all for this opportunity and for all the support that you've shown Rams Against Hunger up to this point. You really do keep this train chugging along, and it goes a long way. I get to be the recipient of a lot of the gratitude that comes through, and I definitely have had a few tears roll down my face when I read some of the responses and some of the gratitude that comes through in the form of emails or personal gratitude. So let me just pass that back on to y'all, because you are making it happen. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. I also want to give a shout out to Erin Freeman, the food insecurity specialist, and all the work that she's been doing too. All right, so with that, we'll go ahead and continue in our agenda. Thank you again, Michael. I know your email's in the chat there, so if anyone has any questions, you're also still a co-host, so I'll leave that for a couple moments if anyone wants to message you directly, or for Chair Boyenko or for Erin Freeman. And we'll go ahead and move on with our agenda onto gallery input. Is there anyone from the community wishing to speak this evening? Feel free to unmute yourselves or raise your hand. All right, seeing none, we'll continue on to executive reports. Should I pass it to President Taylor, Chief of Staff Sloss?
I'm happy to go. I'm going to check if is Vice President Schindler on? I might.
Vice President Schindler is here. Yeah, I believe so.
I am, but Jasper, I'll let you cover Hannah's piece, and then I can talk about SFRB for this week.
Great. Yeah, I'll be filling in for both myself and President Taylor tonight. Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is Jasper Sloss. I'm the Chief of Staff for Executive Branch. I'm going to go ahead and drop my email into the chat. I know we usually do this, and I just think it's helpful to have it there in the beginning in case anyone needs that. Is it even actually possible, Speaker Dixon, to be a co-host real quick? So if anyone wants to direct message me, that might just be a quicker route. They can do that, and then I'll take some information from them and go respond after the meeting or something. Thank you so much. Anyways, I want to start out tonight's executive report a little differently. I wanted to touch on recent events in this space. As the case is with a number of you, it is the only time that we have contact. It has been brought to my attention that comments I made in the Senate session on February 3rd, so 3 weeks ago, in regards to the payroll accountability bill, and in response to comments made by other members of the Senate space, that they were hurtful and uncomfortable for some of those present. And I just want this to be heard loud and clear. For that, I'm very sorry. I'm sorry if my comments harm the well-being of members of this space.
Sorry, it's not.
That was not my intention. I wanted to stand for values of equity and understanding, too, that I hold very dear. But in doing so, I did not understand that the way my words would come across or the impact that they would have coming from me. Through recent conversations, I've come to understand the difference between intention and impact, and I take the lessons learned forward with me as I continue to engage with y'all in this space and the many others within and outside of ASCSU. If you'd like to follow up with me or discuss this more, I warmly invite you to do so. Like mentioned, my email is in the chat. Furthermore, I want to use this time as an opportunity to encourage communication. Within that, I encourage direct communication. All of us will overlap through mandatory and pre-created spaces, such as Senate, committees, and caucuses, and cabinet, and other ASCSU events. But I encourage everyone to reach out and engage in direct interpersonal contact. We do not naturally overlap in the office anymore or after these meetings as we have in historical years. So spaces for direct communication have to be created intentionally. I myself have made efforts to reach out to individuals from across the branches, and that has resulted in some extremely productive conversations, solutions, and ideas for this year. Some in response to recent things and some looking forward. I understand that sometimes we may not feel comfortable in directly communicating with those that we have an issue with, and I understand and respect that, but if or when ready, I think that direct communication can be essential in moving forward. It can also be an opportunity to brainstorm ideas, projects, and initiatives, not just resolve current issues. So as I say, my office door and my Zoom rooms are always open. Feel free to reach out and I'm happy to open those spaces. This all in mind, it's also been brought up that rather than directly communicate, there's recently been some roundabout communication or gossiping occurring. Members of the cabinet have received reports or firsthand stories about other members of ASCSU that border on slander and defamation. These actions will not be tolerated. The ASCSU executive branch functions as a cohesive unit and team. Each member is expected to uphold and promote the values and goals of the administration. We ask that no member of the executive branch is asked to engage in bad mouthing or gossiping about other members of their branch, as this divides and impedes the productivity and mission of the executive branch. If you have an issue with a member, we strongly encourage you to reach out directly, or if more comfortable, explore a mediated conversation to resolve it. We love interbranch collaboration. I think the Rams Against Hunger bill tonight was a great example of that. And we encourage that within our departments and encourage those initiatives and projects to continue. But if slander, defamation, or gossip continues to occur, as it provides no benefit to the common goals of our organization, we'll be forced to look into solutions like pausing that collaboration and channeling all communication through the Office of the President. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out or follow up with me via email. I'm happy to talk things out further. Otherwise, I want to dive into just updates from across the board. President Taylor's in another work meeting right now, so unfortunately she can't join us, so I'm passing on a few things on behalf of her. The first is the diversity and inclusion tab. That will be coming up on the website shortly. President Taylor, Director Gebretzidik, and I collaborated on the creation of a diversity and inclusion tab. President Taylor, has emailed out to a number of senators who either expressed interest or she had heard had been interested in it. She has not received any responses back, whether it's feedback, questions, or acknowledgement. So we encourage everyone to just look out for that if you have received that and maybe provide some comments. And if not, feel free to reach out to the president's email and we'll be able to pass that on and provide more information if you didn't already have it. We want that to be a collaborative effort and we want that feedback, and people have asked about that for quite a while now. So now that the opportunity is here, we really encourage everyone to engage with it. Other things are the office hours for executive members will be posted early next week on the Taylor Schindler website. We're finalizing those and gathering the last few. Other update is the land acknowledgement. Cabinet decided that, the Office of the President decided that we will be reading it at the beginning of the first cabinet of each month in terms of steps forward in keeping that in mind along with other members and branches of ASCSU. We also include it at the top of each agenda sent to cabinet members. Senator Osterhout also expressed interest in joining us to present it or further ways to expand on it. So it sounds like we'll be exploring that further together. Other things, Senator Lowry was able to join cabinet tonight and go over the upcoming book circle and seed workshop. So we're super excited about that and hoping to get a handful of members on the executive branch involved in those. Other updates just from departments. Environmental Affairs is working on a number of things across the board. One of the big ones is the Earth Day Challenge. That video just came out on the Instagram, which was super exciting. I'm going to drop again this link if you are interested in joining. If you're interested in joining that, here's a link. It's efforts that you can take in your daily life to be more sustainable and contribute to environmental caution and awareness. Office of State and Local Policy, of course, continued efforts with U+2, but the big one that's now on the agenda too is working on local municipal election coming up April 6th. So we're looking at making a kind of like a ballot information pamphlet that'll help guide local voters and students on some of the issues. Some of those might be targeted towards specific departments, and we'll do some specialties on those if it's a ballot initiative. In terms of candidates, we're hoping to get information from each candidate on where they stand on specific issues and then compile all that information into a easy, digestible way for students. Marketing is also working on advertising campaigns. They just had the video for Earth Day. We're looking at some upcoming giveaways and outreach opportunities. And then we're also collaborating with ASCSU members on takeover opportunities from all the branches. We're hoping to use that as an avenue to get more outreach and give those a voice because that's another avenue that we can help out with. There's a ton more departments, but the last one I'll touch on is finance. Recently was approved to transfer that $100,000 from BSOF to the Student Relief Fund. That's Director Ferris. Working out the details and exactly how that will be distributed and what that process looks like. But that looks like a go, and we're really excited that we get to hopefully send some funds back to students that are really in need, and it could be pretty impactful for them. That being said, I think that's all I have for today. Please feel free to reach out to me with any questions. Emails in the chat. Also stop by the office. I'm trying to be there most days a week. And otherwise, hope you all have a great night. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Chief of Staff Sloss. Over to Vice President Schindler.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I hope everyone is enjoying their snowy Fort Collins evening if you're in the greater area. So we have once again heard from two fee areas this past week. No one is asking for an increase other than the University Center for the Arts. And they are only asking for an increase if the university requires a pay raise for administrative employees. If that were to happen, they would ask for an 18-cent increase to cover part of those required pay raises. Other than that, I would invite all of you, if you're interested, to come in and watch SFRB. It is open to the public. We just ask that you keep comments reserved till after both fee areas are able to present. And if you have any follow-up questions, please email me, ASCSU Vice President, and I'm open to talk anytime. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Vice President Schindler. Any other updates from executive? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on to, let me make sure we didn't have any there. Yep. Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to judicial reports. Over to Chief Justice Daly. You have the floor.
Do I have the ability to share my screen?
Depends. What were you hoping to share?
I have an opinion I am going to deliver.
Gotcha. In the future, let me think about this. Yeah, in the future, if you could send it to me 24 hours in advance, that would be wonderful.
Don't send opinions in advance on purpose. We're just required to send it afterwards, and everyone will have the accessibility that way, but we do it, but we don't do it before we do it because we're typically rendering the opinion at Senate. And we've had issues specifically with the last opinion when we sent it out beforehand. So we're trying to reserve that and just do it at Senate.
So I definitely get that, Chief Justice Daly, but just to honor our bylaws on that, what I'm going to ask is just that you read it aloud, if that's all right with you. And then if there's specific requests, we can send it out as a file in the chat. Does that work?
Yep, that works for me.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, so opinion of the court delivered per curiam. Chief of Staff Jasper Sloss submitted the following question for clarification. Is Bill 5010 in accordance with ASCSU's governing documents as Opinion 5001 is considered a governing document according to the ASCSU Constitution Section 1004G2 that states, court rulings or opinions regarding wordage, procedure, or clarification on the Constitution or any set of active governing documents are considered permanent legal tender for 2 whole ASCSU administrative years. 2, in the case that it is not in accordance, can the judicial branch nullify this legislation for being in direct conflict with current governing documents in accordance to the ASCSU Supreme Court bylaws Section A, subsection 1B that states, interpret and conduct judicial review of acts of the ASCSU Senate and of all ASCSU administrative boards, interpret, uphold, and enforce acts of Senate, including any ASCSU Code of Ethics. In response, the court provides the following analysis. 1, regarding the first section. Section 1003, subsection A, part 1 of the ASCSU Constitution states, only documents defined within this Constitution or its subsidiary documents and in active effect shall be legal tender of ASCSU. B, judicial opinions are defined within the ASCSU Constitution within Section 1004, subsection G, part 2, which states, court rulings or opinions regarding wordage, procedure, or clarification on the Constitution or any set of active governing documents are considered permanent legal tender for 2 whole ASCSU administrative years. Accordingly, the court finds that Opinion 5001 is legal tender. C, furthermore, Opinion 5001 states, the Supreme Court finds that the president may allocate discretionary payroll funds, and Bill 5010 states that no money left over from the summer and fall pay allocated before the new Senate was seated may be used by the executive branch or legislative branch for the 2020-2021 fiscal year until a process is implemented to regulate pay increases. And opinion 5001 was presented on January 27th, 2021. And the 50th Senate was seated on October 1st, 2020. And the 50th Senate approved the executive budget for the 2020-2021 ASCSU year on November 11th, 2020, which permits the allocation by the president of the money left over from the summer and fall pay allocated before the new Senate. And thus, this allocation of funds cannot be precluded or delayed by any legislation as long as the allocation of these funds is within the line item of the executive budget for the 2020-2021 ASCSU year as approved by the 50th Senate. Therefore, Bill 5010 is not in conflict with the authorization of the president to allocate the discretionary payroll funds as asserted in opinion 5001. Regarding the second question, section 102 subsection A of the ASCSU Constitution states, this Constitution shall be supplemented by the bylaws of the ASCSU executive, legislative, and judicial branches, and the additional constitutions and bylaws of other ASCSU associated clubs and organizations. Each of these shall have the authority to adopt such bylaws. And section jurisdiction and purpose, subsection A, part 2 of the bylaws of the Associated Students of Colorado State University Supreme Court states, interpret and conduct judicial review of the acts of the ASCSU Senate and of all ASCSU administrative boards. Interpret, uphold, and enforce acts of Senate, including any ASCSU Code of Ethics. And section jurisdiction and purpose, subsection A, part 5 of the bylaws of the Associated Students of Colorado State University Supreme Court states, hear cases involved in ASCSU constitutional amendments, Senate bills, Senate resolutions, interbranch disputes, intra-branch disputes, and elections appeals. And the definition of judicial review, according to the Oxford Dictionary, is review by the U.S. Supreme Court of the constitutional validity of a legislative act. And the ASCSU Supreme Court is analogous to the U.S. Supreme Court. Therefore, the ASCSU Supreme Court has the power to determine the constitutional validity of legislative acts through the ASCSU's authorization of the judicial bylaws as a supplement to the ASCSU Constitution. The same bylaws grant the judicial branch the jurisdiction to hear Senate bills. The judicial branch is charged with enforcing the Constitution. In order to enforce the Constitution, the judicial branch can nullify or remand any bill or legislative act in conflict with the ASCSU Constitution or its supplements. Accordingly, the Supreme Court finds that Bill 5010 is in accordance with ASCSU's governing documents, and the judicial branch could nullify this legislation if it is found to be in direct conflict with current governing documents. That's all from me. I'm going to pass it over to my elections manager, Morgan May.
And Chief Justice Daly, if you'd be able to share that file in the chat with everyone, that'd be wonderful. Are you able to do that?
I'm going to send it out to the front desk, who will send it out to everyone.
Okay, sounds good. Elections Manager May.
Hi, yes, I don't have a lot to report this week. The Elections Committee completed SHAPE training with Emily Ambrose yesterday. And this will be the last time I'm talking to you guys before campaigning starts, which is going to begin next Monday. But that's really all I have to report. Everything on the election side is going smoothly, and the committee is, getting involved and getting ready for the election season. Thank you. I yield.
Wonderful. Thank you, Elections Manager. With that, we'll move on to committee reports, starting with Internal Affairs Committee. I'm going to build up some time, some suspense here to give Chair Hazelton time to get ready. So Chair Hazelton, whenever you're ready, you have the floor.
Hi, folks. Thank you, Chair Dixon. I really appreciate it. Speaker Dixon, I really appreciate it. I was ready this time, though, so you didn't even need that. Obviously, internal, we're getting kept busy today, or not today, this week. So what we have ended up doing is we started going over the job descriptions, and then we also went over Senator Osterhout's sunset clause bill and kind of talked about that a little bit, or upcoming bill. And then we also had an emergency meeting because I was brought to my attention at the end of my meeting, at the end of internal committee, that we hadn't gone over Senator Athey's, or Vice Chair Athey's piece of legislation regarding voter campaigns. And we had, as I previously stated last week, we had kind of an issue with how it was done constitutionally. And so with that, regarding that, we had an emergency meeting on Monday to talk about that specifically. What we kind of found is we found a nice compromise, which we'll be presenting tonight in our combined conference committee report, to ensure that this can work in a constitutional manner, and that it will be prosperous and it can go on for multiple years. Yeah, Internal committee is Thursdays from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and I hope y'all come. It's a good time. I enjoy it. And thank you. I yield my time.
Thank you, Chair Hazelton. Over to Chair Rossler, University Affairs.
Thank you so much. I'm going to yield to my Vice Chair, Miles Robinson, who chaired my meeting this week, or this last week, I guess.
All right. Yeah, thank you, Chair Rossler. Can everyone hear me all right? All right, sounds good. So before I get into the report, I just want to acknowledge that I know in the last session I used some choice words to put it lightly, and I don't think I need to remind you all what at least a few of those were. But it was brought to my attention that I did use at least one word that I had used had some connotations as it pertains to racism and bigotry and things like that. And I want to take responsibility for that, and I want to apologize for that, for any harm that may have caused. It was obviously not my intention to do that, and obviously emotions were running high at the time. However, that is not an excuse to say things such as that. So I want to apologize for that, and I want to encourage people within the space to hold me accountable and to hold others accountable for the things that they say that could be harmful. And I think that's a mentality that we need to adopt in the Senate space. So I just want to name that. All right, and beyond that, just getting into the committee report, we had a very productive meeting this past Friday. We obviously went over the RHA or the RAH bill, excuse me, and we also went into the election engagement bill that Senator Athey had wrote. And we were able to discharge both of those, and they are on the floor tonight. We had a very productive conversation about those two pieces of legislation. If you would like to engage in those conversations in the future, we meet every Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. Unfortunately, Chair Boyenko and her Budgetary Affairs Committee overtook our attendance for this week. I think they had 17 people. We had, I think, a max of 16. So that's very unfortunate. But we're gonna get back into it in these coming weeks. So that can only happen if you join us and engage in those conversations with us. So yeah, join us then. And thank you. I yield.
With that, we'll pass it to our resident. Oh, sorry, Chair Rossler, are you? No, you're good.
No,
Okay,
right back to you. No, it's all yours, Speaker Dixon.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, we'll pass it to our resident champion in attendance, Chair Boyenko. You have the floor.
Hi, cue the John Cena music. We had the best attendance record this week. We had 22 at one point, but we had a solid 17 stay the whole time. Thanks, Vice Chair Robinson, for giving us our kudos. I didn't give you yours last week, and y'all deserved it because you won last week or the previous week. Anyway, we had our committee meeting as always on Friday from 2 to 3 last week, and we discussed the voter engagement bill. We made some pretty big changes in there. And then we also talked about the Rams Against Hunger permanent home bill, which our Vice Chair Lizzie Osterhout chaired for that portion of the meeting. And there weren't big changes to that bill. Next week, we will again meet on Fridays from 2 to 3, right after Diversity and Inclusion Caucus and right before University Affairs. This upcoming week, our Vice Chair, Lizzie Osterhout, will chair the entire meeting. I will be there to answer comments, questions, concerns, outrages that may arise. And then the next following week, Lizzie's got the meeting all but to herself. So come show up. Give her your support, grill her with budgetary questions. That is all. I yield.
Thank you, Chair Boyenko. And with that, we'll move on to our caucuses, starting with Diversity and Inclusion Caucus. Or I'm so sorry, I skipped Women's Caucus. Starting with Women's Caucus. Chair McCall, are you with us? Let's see, Chair McCall, it doesn't look like she's here. Is Vice Chair McMahon here by chance? Okay, so in that case, we'll jump to Diversity and Inclusion Caucus. Chair Tovar, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. We are meeting again this Friday from 1 to 2. Last week, we talked about executive job reports with Chair Hazelton, and Senator Osterhout talked about her bill, which we decided to endorse as a caucus. And this upcoming Friday, we're going to team up with the marketing department within exec to hope to find ways to promote diverse offices and organizations on campus through social media platforms and any other marketing materials. So if you're interested in that, definitely join us Friday from 1 to 2. And that's it.
Awesome. Thank you, Chair Tovar. And with that, we'll move on to confidence business. So Parliamentarian Clark, if you could put 2 hours on the confidence clock, that'd be wonderful. Yep. Oh, let's see. Yeah, thank you. I can give just a quick announcement. I wasn't there, but if anyone else was, maybe give a shout out. They did do a seed training. That's right. The Women's Caucus did a seed training on, was that Tuesday? Yeah, that was Tuesday they did that. So yeah, I'd love to hear any of the insights that you all had from that, those of you who were in that room. With that, we'll pass on to ratification and election of officers. We don't have that this evening, so moving on to old business, starting with Bill 5013, the voter engagement campaign bill. I'm going to pass over to you, Parliamentarian Clark, to share your screen and read the title, the abstract, and then we'll jump into the proposed changes from committee.
Alrighty. Okay, this is going to be Bill 5013, Voter Engagement Campaign Bill. Abstract, this bill seeks to establish a nonpartisan campaign to increase voter engagement for the ASCSU elections through funding and commitment from the ASCSU membership body. I actually have a different document here that I'm supposed to share. Let me go and pull this one up. Should be this one. There we go. All right. And so conference committee met today to issue a report for Bill 5013, combination of the changes from each of the committees. Red is going to indicate budgetary, blue is going to indicate university, and yellow is going to indicate changes from internal. Alrighty, and so right here in the endorsements line, there's an addition from budgetary affairs. From internal, there is an additional therefore clause that the ASCSU Senate create a voter engagement caucus called the Voter Engagement Board with the intention of it being a partnership of the ASCSU legislative branch and the ASCSU executive branch. And another change from internal here, the starting members of the caucus are as follows, and then striking this clause right here, striking volunteer, change from university, striking same, it would be the same session, let's see here. The change here was that be appointed by the office of the president and be confirmed by the Senate in the session following the passage of this bill. It was a recommendation of the conference committee to reject that change. A change from internal here again, another change from internal. Let's see here. Some more changes here from internal as well. A change here from budgetary affairs that $3,610 would be allocated from the general discretionary fund, adding the cents into the numbers on the line items, removing handouts, adding in the the LCD displays, and then another change here from budgetary of the general discretionary fund. Another change from university here that the ASCSU front desk, striking out that next portion there. And then some additional changes as well from university affairs. And then one more change from internal affairs as well. And then the final change here is adding Bailey Dinsdale, the ASCSU accountant, into the forwarding list.
So with that, Parliamentarian Clark, will thank you, my friend. We'll pass it to the author, Vice Chair Athey, and I believe Chair Tovar. Is that right? Both authors on this. Hopefully you all are with us. If you could do me a favor, so we just presented the changes there. Could you indicate your intention to accept, reject? If so, which ones do you want to accept? Which ones do you plan to reject? Or you could just say, follow the recommendation from conference committee, in which case you'd accept all of them and just reject that one line item in order to have the elections for these positions for this caucus this evening.
I would follow the recommendation of the conference committee. I also have a couple of changes I would like to add. If we could do those also.
Yeah, so we'll start with that, accepting the conference committee changes, and then we'll the committee changes together, and then we'll advance to that. So Chair Tovar, do you agree as well?
Yes.
Okay, sounds good. With that, Vice Chair Athey, your motion?
Am I motioning to accept them or motioning to add my changes?
Or sorry, I would assume you already accepted them, right? So we'll move on
Yeah.
to, your motion to change.
Okay, I would like to motion to add the changes that I sent to parliamentarian clerk to the bill.
Yeah, wonderful.
So these changes are being made because the way it was written would prevent the board from being able to do any kind of work until March 10th because the executive branch was unable to find members who were willing to be ratified this evening to be on that board. So we've made the changes to reject the second half of that top therefore clause and put it into a second therefore clause so that an initial 2 members from the board can start doing some general planning kind of things. And then March 10th, the next Senate session, if the executive branch is unable to find members, then they will be replaced by 2 members from the legislative branch. But exec has the ability to fill those 2 seats first by March 10th, and those members will be ratified in the Senate. So generally the language is still the same. It's just to allow that the board will still be able to work.
So I have a point of order, Speaker Dixon.
Yeah, Chair Hazelton.
Yeah, so for a caucus, you have to have at least 3 members, and this document right here would only be requiring 2. If you could just change either have include one of the authors as a part of a member, or B, adding from 2 to 3 in that top therefore clause that we're looking at, just so it's within the constitutional parameters.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Chair Hazelton. I'd like to clarify, Vice Chair Athey. So if we scroll down, actually, parliamentarian clerk to that next therefore clause, it indicates that we'll be electing the chair, if I'm not mistaken, for the committee with that, or for this specific voter engagement caucus, in which case it'd be the chair plus 2 other board members. Is that correct, Vice Chair Athey? Is that, Chair Hazelton, is that what you were referring to? It needs to be more than that, or does that meet the threshold?
That meets the threshold. I missed that.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Speaker Dixon.
Yeah, no worries at all. Okay, so we have this motion to add this. Is there a second on that motion? Basically allowing us to hold those elections this evening and ensuring that by no later than March 10th, those executive positions could be filled. If those aren't filled, then it would allow 2 additional senators to join as senators or associates. So is there a second on that motion?
I can second.
Okay, we have a second from Senator Welch. With that, I'm going to ask you all to unmute in just a moment. If you're in favor of adding these 2 changes suggested by the author, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, hearing none, we'll accept those changes. And any other motions regarding the legislation? Otherwise, we'll advance immediately into discussion and debate. All right, hearing none, we'll open up 30 minutes of discussion and debate with the first raised hand. Keep in mind, this is the second reading, so we will be voting on this legislation this evening. Anyone wishing to speak on this piece of legislation? All right, I'm not seeing any, so with that, we'll go ahead and advance into a vote on this piece of legislation. Speaker Pro Tem Reyes, would you be willing to run the roll call vote?
Mr. Speaker, may I move for unanimous consent in passing this legislation?
Yeah, I'll allow that motion. Is there any dissent to unanimously passing the voter engagement campaign bill this evening? All right, hearing none, Speaker Pro Tem Reyes, if you could confirm on the attendance list, I believe you said 28 senators, 2 associates voting for, so 30 total votes, 30-0-0. Is that correct?
That is correct, Mr. Speaker.
Okay. Wonderful.
And then which bill is this?
This is Bill 5013. Is that correct? Or sorry, Parliamentarian Clerk, what's the number?
That is correct. It's going to be Bill 5013.
It is, okay. 5013.
All right, that will be reflected.
Wonderful. Congrats to the authors. Thanks for the hard work you all put on that. And with that, I'm going to pass over to Speaker Pro Tem Reyes, who's going to administer the elections for those 2 board positions, as well as the chair for this effort for the voter engagement. So Speaker Pro Tem Reyes, you can go ahead and take over.
All right, give me just one moment, Mr. Speaker. Let's see. All right, I'm going to now open the floor to nominations. for the voter engagement caucus. You can nominate yourself or you can nominate someone else. Any senator, let's see, it looks like Speaker Dixon wants to nominate Senator Welch. Senator Welch, do you accept that nomination?
I'm running for a senator position, so I don't know if I'm able to.
Chair Tovar or Vice Chair Athey, will you confirm if that's in conflict with your legislation?
Senator positions aren't in conflict because most people in Senate are running for senator seats.
Okay,
right,
then yeah, I accept that nomination.
All right, so we have Senator Welch. Are there any other senators or anyone wishing to nominate a senator who is not a committee chair or any officer of the Senate?
I would like to nominate Associate Richardson.
All right, Associate Richardson, do you accept that nomination?
Yes, I accept.
All right, thank you. Is there any other nominations?
I would like to nominate Senator Torres Doxey.
Senator Torres, do you accept that nomination?
I do.
Are there any other nominations?
I would like to nominate Senator Brandon Lowry, if I may.
Senator Lowry, do you accept that nomination?
I do not. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other nominations? Elections Manager May, I just received a message from you. Could you please clarify your message?
Hi, I'm sorry. Yes, a point of information is Evan Welch would not be able to be on this board because he is in a competitive race. So that would be a conflict of interest.
Yep, that was my one fear. So yeah, I don't.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just wanted to jump in there. That I apologize.
Yep. So then I can like resend my acceptance, and I definitely won't be on the board.
Yes.
Can I interrupt for a second? I'd
Yes,
like to
Vice Chair Athey.
I'd like to ask Elections Manager May. Would it's just because my concern there was that most of Senate is running for senator seats because there are SCPS officers that don't run, but everyone else runs. So do you still feel that way, even though it basically eliminates most of the Senate from being able to run?
I wouldn't say that. I apologize if it's yield. Do you yield to me?
Yes. Sorry.
Yes. So I would not say that there would be some members that would not be a conflict of interest, but specifically because there are two competitive races for Senate for colleges. There are the other colleges are not competitive, but specifically two colleges are competitive. So senators who are running for that specific college would not be able to be on the board because they are in a competitive race.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Elections Manager May, for that information. Are there any other nominations?
I do a quick point of information.
Yes, Chief of Staff Sloss.
Are we defining, I might have missed it, but are we defining competitive races just if there's a number of senators registered for a race as many spots as there are or more or something? Is there a definition? Of
Will you
and I
read
yield to Elections Manager May for that.
Elections Manager May?
Yes, thank you. So as competitive would be, there are a certain amount of seats allocated to each college. So if there are one more than that seat is allowed, then it would be competitive basically. So yeah, that would be by definition what it is.
Gotcha. That answers it. Thank you. And I yield the floor back. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Chief of Staff Sloss and Election Manager May. Are there any other nominations? I will leave the floor open for just another moment.
Okay.
All right, seeing that there are no other nominations, I'm going to close the floor for nominations. So we currently have 2 nominations, and correct me if I'm wrong, there are 2 spots open for legislative members at the moment.
That is correct.
All right, so since there are 2 spots open and 2 people are nominated, they are automatically ratified into those positions. So congratulations, Associate Richardson, as well as Senator Torres. All right, and Speaker Dixon, I will turn it on over to you.
Point of order, we have to ratify the chair also.
Oh, that is my bad. So we are ratifying the chair position. All right, so we will move on to chair nominations. Are there any senators or associates wishing to nominate anyone for the chair position of this caucus? Is there anyone wishing to nominate anyone for the chair of the Voter Engagement Caucus?
Point of personal privilege, I'm a bit confused. Can the chair be an author of the caucus? Or was that written and is a no-go?
The chair can be, but I am a member of a campaign, so I cannot.
Oh, never mind.
All right, thank you, Vice Chair Osterhout.
Thank you,
Is there
Bill.
anyone wishing to nominate someone for the chair of this caucus?
I would like to nominate Senator Eldery, if I'm saying your last name correctly.
Senator Eldery, do you accept that nomination?
I do not, sorry.
Thank you, Senator Eldery. Are there any other nominations?
Can I nominate Senator Dennings?
Senator Dennings, do you accept that nomination?
I cannot, as I am working on a campaign.
Okay, thank you, Senator Dennings. And we'll leave the floor open for a little bit. If not, the election for the chair would have to take place next week.
Can I nominate Senator Nivert?
Senator Nivert, do you accept that nomination?
I believe I'm in a competitive senator race.
Elections Manager May, can you confirm that?
Yes, I can confirm that.
Okay.
I'd like to nominate Senator Rachel Jackson.
Senator Jackson, do you accept that nomination?
No, thank you.
All right, thank you, Senator Jackson.
Point of information.
Yes, Senator Nivert.
Does it have to be a senator or associate senator that is the chair?
Is there, will one of the authors please clarify that?
Per the bill, it does say that. It says that they need to be part of the legislative branch. That's so, yeah.
Okay.
But anyone
'Cause
else in leadership that's not
I
a
was
senator.
just going to point out, it's like I think we're at it to maybe widen the purview of people we're asking to go here, because I think most of us are in competitive senator races.
I was actually going to nominate another person if I could.
Yes, Vice Chair Osterhout.
Okay, can I nominate Associate Senator Cruz? Arizona?
I do not believe Associate Cruz Arizola is here.
I'm here, but I will
Oh.
politely decline. I'm so sorry.
All right, you just say A.S. All right. So that being said, it can be opened up to other members of the legislative branch if there are other members wishing to serve on the elections. All right, seeing none, I'm going to close the floor. And
Wait, can I nominate one more person?
yes, Vice Chair Athey.
Can I nominate Senator Fields?
Senator Fields, do you accept that nomination?
I don't think so. I don't think I'm going to accept it, but I appreciate the nomination.
Thank you, Senator Fields.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes, thank you, Senator Fields.
Hello?
Senator Fields, you might, or can you hear me, Senator Fields?
Can you type? Oh, it's okay. Can y'all hear me? I don't know if y'all can hear me. Hello?
Right. Are there any other nominations?
I'm so sorry. I don't know if y'all can hear me. Can y'all hear me now?
Yes, Senator Fields, we can hear you.
Okay, cool. I don't know if it was made clear, but I'm having internet connection, obviously. But no, I would like to decline the nomination, but I really much.
All right, thank you, Senator Fields. I'm sorry, Chair Russell, were you?
That was me. I read for a point of information.
Yes, Vice Chair Robinson.
Yeah. So per the bill, does nomination extend to Senate leadership team as well, or is that not allowed?
It's not allowed.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, seeing none at this point, I am going to close the floor for nominations. We will move the election to next week in order.
Sorry, I have one more person.
Yes,
I have one
Vice
more
Chair
person to
Akey.
nominate. Can I nominate Senator Lowry
Senator Lowry has also already turned down a nomination.
for the board member, not the chair?
Yes, Senator Lowry, would you accept that nomination?
I'll accept it. Yep, gladly.
All right, Senator Lowry, you have been nominated. Are there any other nominations?
Point of order. Point of order. According to the legislation, there should only be two members of legislative branch as just board members, and then there's one as chair. Is someone that's already been ratified going to forfeit their seat to Senator Lowry and run for chair? Or are we going to have to do that as an election? Because that's already happened. I'm a little confused on the process of what we're doing.
And I nominated Senator Lowry to the chair position. He had already denied the member position, but he accepted the chair position. Right.
Yes. So what happened is Associate Senator Richardson and Senator Torres were ratified to the board itself. This would be a nomination for the chair position of the Voter Engagement Caucus. Are there any other nominations? All right, seeing none, I am going to close the floor. Seeing as there is only one person running for this position, they are automatically accepted into the chair position. So congratulations, Senator Lowry. All right, and then Speaker Dixon, I will turn the chair back over to you.
Sounds great. Thank you, Speaker Pro Tem Reyes. Yes, and congrats to everyone. With that, we'll move on to Bill 5014, Rams Against Hunger Proposal for Permanent Home. I'm sorry, Parliamentarian Clark, I'm stealing your lines again. Do you want to share your screen, read the title and the abstract? Oh, I think you might be muted.
Yep, pulling it up right now. All righty. Can everybody see that all right?
Yep.
Okay. All right. There we go. Bill 5014, Supporting Rams Against Hunger's Proposal for a Permanent Home. Abstract, this bill seeks to allocate $61,200 from the ASCSU Senate General Discretionary Fund to Rams Against Hunger to help cement an on-campus permanent food pantry in the first floor southwest quadrant of the General Service Building. This is the conference committee report. Red indicates budgetary affairs, blue indicates university affairs. There is the submission of an endorsement by Budgetary Affairs Committee and the change of an endorsement from University Affairs Committee as well. Other than that, those are the only changes.
Wonderful. Thank you, Parliamentarian Clark. With that, we'll pass it to the authors of legislation. I know we have Chair Boyenko and we also have Director Freeman. Any other authors that are recognized there? Chair Rossler as well, I believe.
Thank you, Speaker Dixon. I do want to say during the second reading, the authors
Oh, thank you.
present. So
I'm so sorry. Yep.
you can have your floor back. Thank you.
Thank you. Apologies for that. And while we're on while we have the full floor here, I'd actually like to swear in those individuals, if that's possible. So Chief Justice Daley, would you be able to swear in Senator Lowry, and who are the other two individuals? Would you all be able to unmute yourselves?
Associate Richardson and Senator Torres.
Wonderful. Thank you. Chief Justice Daley, are you able to administer that oath of office?
Yes, absolutely. If everyone could repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Ben Torres,
Richardson. Do solemnly swear.
do solemnly swear
To defend and uphold.
to defend and uphold
The rules and regulations.
the rules and regulations
Set forth by the Constitution.
set forth by the Constitution
Of ASCSU.
of ASCSU
And will rightfully perform.
and will rightfully perform
The duties of my office.
the duties of my office
The best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Wonderful. Congratulations, y'all. Sorry about the disruption on that. Now we will go back to Bill 5014 with 30 minutes of discussion and debate on this piece of legislation, starting with the first raised hand. Keep in mind, this is regarding the Rams Against Hunger proposal for a permanent new home. Vice Chair Osterhout, you have the floor.
Thank you. Hi, all. My name is Lizzie, and I would really like to urge a yes vote on this piece of legislation. I know it does seem hefty. It's a bit spooky at first, but logistically, we do have a lot left in our budget. So if all of the pieces of legislation that we already have on the floor with money-wise were to pass, including this, we'd still have about 10,000 left. So that means we still have projects left. So don't get scared that if we pass this, we'll be shut down for the year money-wise, because we'll still have some money to spend on some really important projects. So I think this would be a great thing to have in progress. And we could also say that we helped have Rams Against Hunger have a proper home. Like, that'd be really cool to say that we did that. And I'd just like to point out we still have much funding left that we can use. So I urge a yes vote and I yield my time. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Osterhout. Over to Senator Torres Doxy.
Hi everyone. So I also want to speak in favor of this bill, just because it does seem like a lot of money, and it is a lot of money. But I think just for the fact that this will help students, it's a long-term project and it will help students for years and years and years to come. So I'm urging a yes vote to all my fellow senators in the space. So yeah, that's all I have to say. I yield my time.
Thank you, Senator Doxy. Over to Speaker Pro Tem Reyes.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. More to just for information, more to Vice Chair Osterhout's point. I am working with the accountant Bailey Dinsdale to try and free up old funds that haven't been billed for. For example, there's like a bill that has $8,000 attached to it that hasn't spent a dime. So just kind of going through and looking at those pieces of legislation. So more to Vice Chair Osterhout's point, that there is money left if you are concerned about the dollar signs.
Thank you, Speaker Pro Tem Reyes. Over to Officer Crop.
Yes, I just wanted to say that, I mean, I can't think of a bill that I would support more. It's, I think, one of the most necessary bills that we have, just to kind of put it in perspective, because I think a lot of times, maybe a lot of senators from their life experience don't get really to see who utilizes the food pantry and like what those people look like. But there's definitely been many of times that I've needed the food pantry, and you really can't survive without food, let alone expect anybody to take classes, do anything else if they're worried about their next meal. So I just wanted to give my vote. And also, I'm guessing everyone's in favor. So can I motion for unanimous consent for this?
Yeah, I'd allow that. Do you mind if we let Chief of Staff Sloss quickly share, and then, yeah, we'll jump right to that motion.
May I motion to exhaust the speakers list?
You know,
It just doesn't, I don't
yeah, I
want to be
won't
redundant.
entertain
Okay.
that, but
I'll
yeah,
just
yeah.
be quick and then be done. Is the floor yielded to me, Speaker Dixon?
That's correct. Yep, yep,
Okay.
you have the floor.
Yeah, I don't want to be redundant, but I just wanted to, I want to say something and just shout out. I think in a normal, like as mentioned before, it's a lot of dollar signs. I think in a normal year, there might be a more of a like, slow down, hold up, let's take some more time and look at it. I know a lot of time's been taken, but I think like we've all seen this year, it's been really hard to find great ways to spend money back towards students. And I think this is absolutely the perfect year for us to push this bill forward, because we do have significant funds sitting there that have been hard to find the best usage for. And I think this is just, I don't know how else to say it, but like chef's kiss beautiful. Like, like this is the committee that Food Insecurity Specialist Freeman, Chair Rossler, and Chair Bianco put together, and I've been working on tirelessly. Like this feels like the pinnacle achievement. So not only do I encourage the yes vote, I wish I could vote yes on this. I don't have that power, but I also think that it's just a great moment to celebrate all the hard work of those three, Michael Buttram and the rest of folks that have been involved in this, because it's been a long time coming, and it's finally here. So congrats, thank you, and yes, yes, yes. I yield.
Yeah, and once again, just a shout out, Director Buttram and everyone, all of the authors of this legislation. I think this is one of the few opportunities we get to sort of pull back the veil and see the heroes that are behind the scenes, that are keeping things functioning, right? Maintaining the dignity of the student body by ensuring that they know where their next meal is coming from. So that service is invaluable, and yeah, we want to recognize you all for that. And Recruitment and Retention Officer Kropp, I'll entertain that motion now.
I would like to motion for unanimous consent on this bill.
Right. Is there any dissent to passing the Rams Against Hunger proposal for a permanent new home unanimously? Chair Blanco?
I dissent respectfully. I'd like to hear everyone's names and yeses and nos. I think it would be more monumental to hear all of the yeses out loud.
Yeah. Yeah. Recruitment and Retention Officer Kropp, with that, that motion is rejected, as Chair Blanco said, respectfully, obviously, and we'll advance into a roll call vote. So Speaker Pro Tem Reyes, we're ready for you whenever you are.
Give me 1 second, Mr. Speaker. I am just adding the 2 new senators to the list. All right. Senator Athey.
Yes.
Chair Boyanko.
Yes.
Senator Dennings.
Yes.
Senator Jorup.
Yes.
Senator Eldiri.
Yes.
Senator Fields. Senator Fields. All right, you are here, so I'm going
Speaker
to
Pro Tem
assume...
Reyes, we got a good suggestion from Senator Robinson. Could you all turn on your cameras? I would really appreciate that for us to let the folks who are on the live stream see this take place.
Start over if you want.
Yeah, give a wave to the camera. Would love if all of us can turn on our cameras if you're open to it, or at least the majority.
If you're willing and able to, at least.
Exactly, yep. Back to you, Speaker Pro Tem.
All right, with that, Senator Fields, can you hear me? I know you were having issues earlier. I will come back. Chair Hazelton?
Yes.
All right. All right, looks like Senator Fields' vote is yes.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes. Senator Hill? It
Point
looks
of
like Senator...
information, I believe Senator Hill is not here today.
That is correct.
Informed, do you want me to just say yes?
Yes, so Associate Alton, you were voting yes on this legislation?
Yes.
Senator Hunter?
Yes.
Okay. Senator Jackson?
Yes.
Officer Kropp?
Yes.
Senator Ling?
Yes.
Senator Lowry?
Yes.
Senator or Chair McCall, I believe, is still absent. Is there an associate from liberal arts present? I am. All right, Associate Osterk, how do you vote?
Yes.
All right. Senator McMahon, I believe, is absent. Senator Melvin. Senator Alyssa Melvin. Senator Nybert.
Yes.
Senator Nottingham, I believe, is absent. Senator Ojeda.
Yes.
Senator Osterhout.
Yes.
Senator Paraiso. I believe is absent. Senator Quintero.
Yes.
Chair Rossler.
Yes.
Senator Trin. Senator Trin, I believe, is absent. Associate Richardson, would you like to vote for Senator Trin? Associate Richardson? All right. Senator Vara Darjan, I believe, is absent. Senator Villaseñor.
Yes.
Vice Chair Robinson.
Yes.
Chair Tovar.
Yes.
Senator Tefera.
Yes.
Senator Stekeste.
Yes.
Senator Torres.
Yes.
Senator Welch.
Yes.
Senator Whitaker is absent. Senator Vallas.
Yes.
Senator Avers. Senator Avers, are you present? Does not appear so. Is there anyone that I have missed?
Speaker
Yeah,
Pro Tem Reyes.
I got
Senator
Min.
Fairchild. I was going to say.
Oh, yes. My apologies. Senator Fairchild?
Yes.
All right. Is there anyone else that I have missed? Hearing none, I will tally up the votes. All right. With a vote of 29 to 0 to 0, this bill does pass.
Congratulations, everyone. Can we give a round of applause? Yeah, let's light up the chat with some congratulations for our authors. Just one more recognition. We have Chair Blanco, Chair Rossler, Director Freeman, Director Buttram, all of the incredible work that you all have done. And actually, Director Buttram, do you have any final words for us as we close it out on this piece of legislation, now that you have the 29-0-0 vote on your belt?
Nothing but gratitude. Really, truly honored to be doing this work and honored to be in this position and to have the support of you all as representatives of the student body. That's a tremendous vote of confidence for this work. It lets us know we're doing the right thing. Yeah, I invite you all to come by the pantry, whether it's to come by and grab a box of food or to come by and see what we're up to. Yeah, y'all are wonderful. Thank you for what you're doing. And thank you to those who are really helping move the pieces around for this specific issue.
Well said. Hey, so I would entertain a motion to sing the fight song right now if anyone is interested. I know Senator Robinson mentioned it, but I feel like it'd be fitting for us to move that to right now on the agenda. Any motions?
I know that would be cool, but over Zoom that would kind of end in disaster. So I would advise against it.
Well, hey, I'll still entertain a motion if it's there. Otherwise, we can move on. All right, not hearing any. Well, Director Butcham, thank you again for all the hard work that you put in, and yeah, we're excited to see where this goes. And like I said, this is the first milestone of many, right? Director Butcham, it sounds like we've got another one on March 4th with UFAB. So senators, associates, talk to your college councils, talk to your networks, let them know that this is happening. March 4th, that proposal. Is that correct, Director Butcham, for $400,000 is the proposal going to UFAB?
Yes, next Thursday, the 4th.
Next Thursday. So get the word out, encourage UFAB representatives to vote yes on this, and let's show the student body that we care about this and that we put action with our values. So with that, again, thank you, Director Butcham. And I would also motion for a quick recess. Any interest in that, a 5-minute recess? Before we
Mr.
jump
Speaker,
into
I seek
legislation?
unanimous consent for a 5-minute recess.
Okay. Is there any dissent to taking 5 minutes and then we'll jump back into new business?
Yeah, I dissent. I'd really like to get this bill through as soon as possible.
Okay. Speaker Pro Tem Liz, you.
Mr. Speaker, I have a point of order.
Yep.
Unfortunately, Chief Justice Daley is not a voting member of the Senate, and a voting member of the Senate would need to dissent from the motion.
Yep, that's correct. Okay, so with that, we'll take 5 minutes and we'll be right back at just before 43. Sound good? Awesome. And if you all have any questions for Director Butcham, feel free to stick around and ask him at this point.
Hey, Christian.
Yeah, is that Vice Chair Athey?
Yes. So we don't have Senate next week because of the spring thing, right? Spring retreat.
That's right. And we need to discuss that, but we'll give an announcement during legislative officer reports. Okay.
Okay, yeah, because my concern in that is that we need to give a vote of confidence for the candidates next week because it's the beginning of the election.
Right. And we do have a couple minutes here, so maybe I'll see if Elections Manager May is with us. Are you able to hear us?
I can text her.
Yeah, that'd be good. Yep. Yeah, I saw your message, Chief of Staff Sloss. That sounds good. I'll try and cover the bases, and I might yield to you on that if there's additional announcements. If Elections Manager May isn't here, then maybe we can yield to to absentee, and we'll pick that up. I guess next week we can check in with her. But that is correct, Vice Chair. I think next week is the retreat. I guess what we need to confirm is whether or not that interferes with the stipulation in our bylaws saying when that vote of confidence needs to happen for the speaker candidates. I think that is something we're still clarifying, Vice Chair Athey. So if you have any resources, or if you have the ability to look and find that specific section, that'd be helpful just for context. We've
Yeah, I
had
can
some
go
folks
find
say,
it.
yeah, that'd be wonderful if you could, just for context. Just to make sure we're not violating our own bylaws.
Would it be in the bylaws or would it be in the elections code? Because I thought it would be in the elections code.
The elections code. Yep, you're correct on that.
Okay.
All right, friends, as you're joining back in, if you could turn on your cameras for us, at least let us know that you're in the house. That'd be wonderful. Senator Welch, good to see you. Senator Robinson, Vice Chair Robinson, good to see you all. Shout out to Senator Jorup, who sent some good news my way. Just won or got third place in a guitar competition in New York. So that's kind of fun. I was very impressed when I saw that message. I do want a performance though, Senator Jorup. I'm just warning you. We can add a section of our agenda, okay? All right, as y'all are joining back in, we're going to go ahead and jump in here. Parliamentarian Clark, are you with us?
Yes, I am, Mr. Speaker.
Wonderful. Would you be able to share 5017 with us? Read the bill and then the abstract.
Yes. All righty. Bill 5017, allocating additional funds to ensure a complete elections budget for the 2021 elections period. Abstract. This bill seeks to request additional funds from the ASCSU General Fund in order to provide the 2020 to 2021 elections manager with the full $3,000 elections budget as provided in past elections periods.
Thank you, Parliamentarian Clark. With that, we'll pass it over to the author of the legislation, which is Chief Justice Daley, for 10 minutes of presentation. You have the floor.
The bill is pretty much self-explanatory. So we've had 2 elections this ASCSU year instead of 1 because of the pandemic. So we had 1 in the fall and we have 1 in the spring. So in the budget, there's $3,000 total for this year, and that usually is for 1 election cycle. However, since we have 2, we're seeking to basically reinstate the entire elections budget by pulling about $1,600 from the ASCSU fund balance to make sure that Elections Manager May has the amount of money that the fall had to basically work with the heightened cost of tabling and reserving spaces and debates and everything like that so that the elections are equal. And I'd also like to really trying to get this passed tonight just so that she can start making those payments for the LSC so everything's in place for when elections do start next week. So that's all I really have from my end.
All right, thank you, Chief Justice Daley. And could you give a quick overview, just for those that aren't familiar, the fund balance itself, what your proposal is there, or I guess what it is in this context for those that aren't familiar?
What the proposal is for what?
Sorry, I mean, I'm happy to clarify, but just specifically the fund balance, if you could clarify how that differs from the ASCSU Senate budget, Senate discretionary.
Yeah, so the fund balance really is just money that ends up rolling over. So it's not pulling from the Senate fund and it's not pulling from the executive fund. It's just money that is there. And we're supposed to have a pretty healthy fund balance just to make sure if we need that extra money. But right now there's over $100,000 in there. So this would be asking for about less than 1% of that fund balance, just to make sure that we're not pulling from the important projects that are being done in either the legislative or the executive branches, since this really is a collective, elections are collective for ASCSU. So that is solely what that's requesting and the rationale behind why it's being requested from there.
All right, so with that, we'll open 10 minutes of questions for Chief Justice Daley, starting with the first raised hand. And Chief Justice Daley, maybe I'll start with a question. I noticed you mentioned the intent to expedite this evening. Have we received written approval from the Director of Finance and the ASCSU advisor on your intent to expedite, on the feasibility of expediting this evening?
No, we have not.
Okay, gotcha. So I unfortunately can't entertain that. Section 5, subsection M of our bylaws stipulate that in order to expedite a bill that's not originating from BSOF,
So-
must have those in place.
Right. I understand that, Speaker Dixon, but at the same time, if we do not have this budget passed, we're going to have to delay elections. So that's why we didn't do that. So we've been waiting for everything from the LC in terms of quotes and everything else. So I understand the circumstances behind that. But if we don't get this passed this week, we're going to have to delay elections, unfortunately. So I just want to make that clear.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I might clarify real quick. So you said this would be an extension of the budget, right? Not the entire budget itself. So for example, there are funds currently allocated to payroll, to covering tabling for elections. Your concern is that they won't last the full duration of the election. Is that correct?
There's not enough to cover even the tabling costs for the LSC at this moment because the prices did raise because of the pandemic. So if it weren't for that, we would be fine right now. But since that isn't the case, and we just got word back that they're much higher than usual, we won't even have the money to cover that. And so since we just got that quote, that's why this has been delayed. So that's kind of the clarification there.
Gotcha. All right. And to answer the question in the chat there, it does have to be written approval per the verbiage in our bylaws. There's two options here. One, we receive written approval within the next 10 minutes or so from Director of Finance and from the ASCSU advisor. So Jess Deardle or Jess Schultz. The other option is for us as a Senate to waive our bylaws in order to expedite this evening. Obviously, I wouldn't suggest that for a variety of reasons. It's not good precedent to waive bylaws of a Senate that operates very, very closely to its bylaws, but that is an option. So I'll leave the floor open if there are motions at this moment. And yeah, Vice President Schindler, so it has to be the ASCSU advisor, not the accountant, if that's correct. I would yield to Speaker Pro Tem Reyes to confirm that on subsection M of Section 5.
That is correct, Mr. Speaker. So the specific section M states that bills dealing with finance not originating from BSOF can only be granted expedited status with written documentation from the ASCSU advisor and Director of Finance. Yeah.
So Chief Justice Daley, do you have an intent to move in either direction?
Just because of the time constraint and because we don't unfortunately have the Director of Finance on right now, I would say waiving the bylaws, since we're pretty close to the end of our agenda anyway, would be the way I would go. Just because, normally I would be completely in concurrence with you, Speaker Dixon. However, this is going to have a pretty big impact on the timeline of elections. We're going to have to unfortunately move those back if this is tonight. I apologize for its delay. There's been a number of factors going to that, but that's just, where I would encourage the Senate to go.
Okay, so there's a motion to suspend the bylaws for this piece. Chief Justice Daley, did you indicate just for this piece of legislation? Was that the motion?
Yeah, just for this legislation would be what I would prefer, just due to the circumstances.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. With that, is there a second on that motion?
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a second on that. I do want to open up 5 minutes of discussion and debate, since this obviously has wide-reaching implications. Anyone wishing to speak on whether or not we should waive the bylaws this evening? Yeah, Senator Welch.
So I completely agree that normally we should not ever and if it wasn't for the global pandemic, I would definitely disagree with this, but because we're in a global pandemic and we have a big elections coming up, I feel like it'll be best if we did, but I wouldn't want to ever do this again unless it's something with this. And next year, I would hope if there's no pandemic, I would be completely against ever going past the bylaws. But because of the pandemic, I do think we should do that.
Thank you, Senator Welch. With that, we have Chair Hazelton. Go ahead.
I'm gonna say it. No one's gonna be surprised when I say this, and I totally understand the circumstances. And obviously, this wasn't. I know Chief Justice Daley is usually really prompt with these kind of things, so obviously there was a number of circumstances. However, my primary concern is we have had a past issue with expediting bills, specifically with financial implications, and I really am tentative that if this is not going into budgetary committee and this not going through the committee process to let it go through, much less like releasing our bylaws. Our bylaws are there for a very specific reason. And unfortunately, like it's come against us, but you have to keep in mind that the bylaws are designed to protect us as senators, to making sure that we are doing the right things in this space. And I am really uncomfortable with the idea of dismissing our bylaws, especially for a financial issue, because as previously stated, we've had a lot of different issues in this space with money, and making sure that like it's been through through the legislative process. And I am going to have to urge a vote of no, just based on our past and what dangerous precedent this would send. Thank you. I yield my time.
Thank you, Chair Hazelton. Senator Nivert.
I agree to an extent with Hazelton, but I'd also like to point out that a lot of factors that are outside of this body were affecting this. And I don't think, while we should never do this again, there were so many things outside of the control of this particular system, and to not run elections is not a great idea. Or excuse me, to delay elections is already not a great idea. And had obviously, trying to articulate, had things been moved quickly, or if there wasn't a pandemic, this would not be acceptable. But because, again, like I said, there are so many factors that have played into this, and because of the time constraints and of all the people who have had to approve this, and sudden changes in what has happened, and the fact that the price for tabling and all that kind of stuff has been raised, I think this is just this has to be passed in order to maintain the fact that there will be elections in the next 2 weeks, and I think a lot of people would like that to continue to happen. And I think that whether or not we vote yes or no, we will have to up the money anyways, due to the fact that we now know from Daley that Chief Justice Daley, that the price has been raised. So it won't change how much money we will end up putting into the pot. It will just change when the elections happen, which will just be inconvenient. So that's why I would urge a vote yes, but only in this scenario.
Thank you, Senator Nivert. Recognizing the need for recusal here, I'm actually going to pass it to Speaker Pro Tem Reyes. I'm just realizing that now. So Speaker Pro Tem Reyes, go ahead.
It looks like next we have Senator or Vice Chair Robinson on the speaking list.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to say I hear the concerns of both sides, obviously. One being, obviously, the elections are literally campaign starts literally days from now. And I also understand that the precedent that it could set as it pertains to the rules and regulations that we follow here in this space. However, what I would say is that I trust myself and I trust the members of this body to use their own discretion and to understand that this is a very much a unique circumstance. This is an extenuating circumstance, and that this is not something that if we do go on with this right now, that this is not something that becomes a regular thing, and that this is very much this is very much not something that can happen twice in terms of situation, in terms of context. So I want us to be cognizant of that and understand that this isn't. I can't really foresee realistically going forward with this becoming a new norm as it pertains to waiving bylaws. However, I do understand the concerns of those who disagree with that. That's what I have to say about that. I yield.
Thank you, Vice Chair Robinson. Elections Manager May, you are next on the speaking list.
Hi, I just wanted to echo what Chief Justice Daley had said about the external factors contributing to this. The LSC, there's been a lot of issues with capacity and trying to book rooms, because a lot of the rooms in the LSC right now are being used for classrooms, specifically the larger ones. And I'd also like to say that there's obvious precedent for the amount of money that we're asking for this elections season, that we're not, going out of the norm. And this is really what is needed, like, down to basically every penny to effectuate the elections and making sure that everything runs smoothly, especially with the LSC. So I just kind of wanted to echo and add that points in. I yield.
Thank you, Elections Manager May. Chief Justice Daley, you did have your hand up. Were you still wanting to speak?
Yes, I just wanted to voice a couple of the implications if we aren't able to stick to the traditional timeline that we had proposed. Basically, with elections starting next week, if we're unable to expedite this tonight, we're going to have to change the elections period, which could go A, into spring break, or B, it would have to be after spring break, which has the potential of going into dead weekend finals. The reason that we have this timeline is to be cognizant of students' academic needs and other needs. So this is really the only reason why I would urge this. I understand that it can set a dangerous precedent, but it's just for this bill. And I think with so many candidates' time and academic needs at stake, this is something that I would really urge. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Justice Daley. Chair Boyenko informed me that she wanted to be on the speaking list. So Chair Boyenko, you have the floor. There are about 2 minutes remaining.
Thank you, Pro Tempore Reyes. I want to recognize that Chief Justice Daley does not do things last minute. So I wholeheartedly agree that there has been reasons as to why this was pushed back so far, and we don't want to push it back any farther. I totally understand that. I do want to bring up that if we were to expedite and vote yes on this bill, we would be breaking 2 precedents, not just one. So the first precedent would be suspending the bylaws, which is what we are discussing right now. And the second precedent would be pulling from the fund balance. That is not a normal thing that happens. And it's something that we don't look at as a smart fiscal move on Senate's behalf. So there are 2 other factors. That's why I would urge that we don't expedite this bill. I understand the time frame, and I recognize that this is going to throw a huge wrench in the works, and I am sorry for that. But I recommend that we go through the normal process, not expediting, so that we don't break 2 precedents, and that we can find funds in other areas, not the fund balance, which would not be wise to pull from, especially in a pandemic. Thank you. I yield.
All right. Is there anyone else wishing to speak on this issue? There's about 30 seconds remaining. Seeing none, I'm going to move us to previous question. So this, according to Rule 1, Rule subsection A, has to be a 2/3 vote of the Senate. So because of that reason, I'm going to administer a poll. Chief Justice Daley, did you have a motion or a point of order?
I'm not sure which one it is, but I just had a point of information. I am so sorry, I'm forgetting titles right now. Director of Finance, Alex Farish, just sent over her approval for expediting the bill for the elections budget. I just wanted to clarify whether it had to be just her or her and an advisor.
Her and an advisor, so either Jess Deardahl or Jesse Schultz. So if either
Awesome,
of the
thank you.
advisors would like to approve that in writing, that would be another feasible option. And then advisor Deardahl or advisor Schultz, is there any intention from you to do that?
I apologize. My Wi-Fi keeps going out. There is no, I will not be providing a written approval for that at this time, and I'm more than happy after the vote to explain why, but that has always been my approach.
All right. And then advisor Schultz, are you wanting to provide that written approval? I don't know if advisor Schultz is here.
I think Jesse left earlier.
Yes, advisor Schultz is not here. So without feasible documentation or written documentation and approval, we will be proceeding on the vote. So give me just one moment. All right. I am launching the poll now. Again, because this is a vote of the procedure, associates may vote on this piece of, or on this motion. If you vote yes, you want to expedite and vote on this piece of legislation tonight. If you vote no, you do not want to expedite and you want it to go to committee and then come out and be voted on next week.
Point of information, Speaker Pro Tem Reyes, is this a motion to suspend the bylaws and expedite, or is this just a motion to expedite without suspending the bylaws? Obviously, understanding that we can't do the latter.
My apologies. Thank you, Chair Hazelton. So this is actually the motion to suspend the bylaws. So I want to make sure if there was anyone who was voting on expediting, this is a motion to suspend the bylaws specifically in reference to the approval needed to expedite this legislation. All right, so yes, so I'm going to end the poll. I'm going to relaunch this poll under a different motion because it said expedite just for transparency. So again, for transparency, this is a motion whether or not to waive the bylaws and to waive that approval that this piece of legislation would need in order to be expedited. So this is not expediting the legislation. This is waiving the requirement to expedite. And as a reminder, according to Rule 1, Section, I believe 2, or Rule 1, subsection A, that this needs to be a 2/3 vote of the Senate. I will wait a couple more seconds here.
Point of information.
Yes, Chair Tovar.
Sorry, can you explain one more time on the
Yes.
motion? I'm a little.
So this motion specifically is to suspend the bylaws in relation to the requirements that this piece of legislation needs in order to be expedited. So in order to be expedited, this piece of legislation needs either or needs approval from an advisor and the director of finance, written approval from those two people in order to be expedited. So this is about waiving that specific portion of the bylaws. Does that make sense, Chair Tovar?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Let's see, give it just another second. And again, if the poll is not working for you, please message me directly and I will add your vote into the totals. Okay, I'm going to end the poll. And on a vote of 8-23-3, this motion does not pass. Are you all seeing that there? All right. It looks like Chief Justice Daly, we were in the middle of Q&A. Are you still wanting to do Q&A on this piece of legislation for tonight?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
So since that motion did fail, we are still in the Q&A section of your presentation. Are you wanting to continue with Q&A on your piece of legislation?
Sure, I am open to that.
All right. Is there anyone wishing to ask questions of Chief Justice Daly in regards to this legislation? Please raise your hand. Chair Boyanko?
Hi, could you explain why you chose the fund balance instead of other funds?
Absolutely. So the reason I chose the fund balance is for several reasons. I chose the fund balance because we did not want to pull from any of the Senate funds because of the projects that you all are doing, and I did not think it would be fair to pull from that. Another reason is I connected with President Taylor, and one of the options accountant Bailey Dinsdale brought up is that we could pull from some of those different departments. However, she wanted to keep the money in there so that she could continue with the projects that her administration has been pursuing, and those wouldn't be hindered by lack of funds. Another reason is that there's a more than healthy fund balance, and this is just about 1% of that, which gives us lots of leeway. So we didn't want to pull from anywhere else because there is that more than healthy fund balance. And this is just asking for a mere amount, a very small amount of that. So those are the couple reasons why we chose the fund balance.
Right, okay. Are you available Friday from 2 to 3 to attend budgetary affairs to discuss this bill or legislation?
So unfortunately, I do have class Monday, Wednesday, Friday at that time. So that's why I haven't been able to attend budgetary. I can explore whether or not my elections manager or another member from the court is able to attend though.
Okay, thank you. Well, school comes first, of course. And then do you have availability Thursday from 10 to 11 to attend internal?
I also have a class at that time, unfortunately. That's why I haven't been able to attend those two committees.
Great. Okay. I will compile further questions and send them an email then. Thank you. I yield.
Thank you, Chair Boyenko. Chief of Staff Sloss, you have the floor.
Thanks. It was brought up that there is some money in the budget, the 1,100 something, I think it is dollars, that can start being used until this bill's passed and this bill opens up the rest of that. What is, I guess my question for the author, Chief Justice Daley, is like, what does the timeline of this look like? Because obviously if it's not expedited tonight, it'll get pushed till the Senate session. The soonest it can be approved is the Senate session on March 10th. So what does that look like in terms of financial estimations and in what the funding will be? Like, will we be out of money by that point?
So I'm not quite sure because we basically are just going to have to delay elections. There's no way getting around it because of tonight. I'm not quite sure how to answer your question. Once I get more information, I'll be able to answer that in a more informed way. However, there's not enough to even cover tabling, which is one of the primary costs for elections. So I'll have to connect with my elections manager and explore additional options because there are very few things that are covered by that and by the timeline. We're just going to have to push it back. So I'm not quite sure how to answer that completely, but I will connect with you after I get more information.
Thank you.
Do you yield the floor, Chief of Staff Sloss?
I do.
All right. Is there anyone else wishing to ask questions of the Chief Justice? All right, seeing none at this time, we're going to close questioning. As the chair, I will be sending this to Budgetary Affairs. All right, and then Mr. Speaker, I will turn the chair back over to you. Looks like Chief of Staff Sloss, do you have a motion?
Point of personal information or point of personal privilege, sorry.
Yes.
Maybe it's point of information. I just don't know the numbers off the top of my head. What is the time beforehand that we must give notice to call an emergency session? And does the Speaker of the Senate have that power? Because I think the problem that we're running into is the retreat conflicts with Senate next week, and that's when it could be passed. But it's entirely possible we call a mini emergency session the night right afterwards the retreat to then just quickly vote another time on this bill and that way get it passed in time. Because I don't think anyone here unanimously wants to see elections delayed. We're just running into some kind of like slippery slopes, you know.
So Article 2, Section 201, subsection C states that the magistrates or the legislative cabinet can declare an emergency session, and that is also written into the bylaws of the legislative cabinet, that the cabinet can vote to call an emergency meeting. I also believe the president has the ability to call a budget meeting. So there are multiple options that we can explore either after this or offline.
Awesome. Would that be something that the Senate leadership would be interested in exploring to make elections possible?
We can certainly explore that option afterwards, but I will. So we can come up with some options and get back to the Chief Justice as well as you, Chief of Staff Sloss.
Thank you. I yield back to the chair.
All right, and then Speaker Dixon, I will turn the chair back over to you.
Thank you, Speaker Pro Tem Reyes. And yeah, that sounds like a great compromise, Chief of Staff Sloss. Obviously, we'll be ending the retreat around 8 p.m. And we're already past 8 p.m. So I don't see why we wouldn't be able to do that. Yeah, even just a 30-minute session if it came to that. So yeah, if you could send me details and let's start exploring that possibility. With that, we'll jump to the next piece of legislation. We have 5016, extension of Bill 5002, written by Senator Osterhout. So Parliamentarian Clark, if you could share your screen, read the bill title and abstract, that would be wonderful.
Absolutely. Bill 5016, extension of Bill 5002, COVID-19 Indigenous Students Travel Grant Sunset Clause. Abstract. This bill seeks to extend the Sunset Clause, written into Bill 5002, COVID-19 Indigenous Students Travel Grant. The extension of the Sunset Clause will allow both the Native American Cultural Center and the Associated Students of Colorado State University to allocate more resources to Indigenous students in need during the global pandemic.
Wonderful, thank you. And with that, we'll pass it to our author for a 10-minute presentation. Senator Osterhout, sorry, Vice Chair Osterhout, you have the floor.
Thank you. Hi, y'all. Sorry if there's background noise, new environment. We're working on that. But so the purpose of this bill is to mainly ensure that the funds we previously allocated in November does not go away. Whereas I've written, if we can scroll down, I actually stated the last sunset clause within Bill 5002. I think it's coming up. But basically all the funds that aren't used will go back to the Senate General Fund. And as of this point, I have not been able to use any funds. And here's a bit of a background for those that don't know what's going on behind the scenes. So at first, when I presented this, Senate said yes, that we can use these funds, but the pandemic preparedness team said no. And so we were having communication back and forth to see if I could use these funds that we all wanted to use, and that I had very close to 200 student endorsements. So clearly the students wanted to allocate it, but there was a bit of a holdup with university admin. And now I'm finally getting some traction, and they did approve of the use of the funds for this bill. And through that, I have to go through various levels of authorization. I have to initially get the travel office, oh, sorry, I saw that comment. I have to go through different levels of authorization throughout the entire university administration within the pandemic preparedness team, the office of the vice president, and then all the general health. And they're not going to umbrella the cases. So each student that applies will have to go individually, and they will have to pass a couple different levels of authorization for us to even allocate those funds for them and to get approved. So with that, unfortunately, it is red tape, and that is why I decided to write this bill to have the ASCSU Senate agree to extend the sunset clause into June 2023. And I know that is a long time away, but I foresee this going a project that will be ongoing. And June 2023 is when hopefully I'll be graduated, so I'm hoping to be done with this project. And the reason is I don't think I can reasonably be started until the fall, even outreaching the students, because written within the bill, I have to create the COVID-19 Indigenous Students Travel Grant Review Board. And through that, I have to find all the bylaws and create the bylaws. Like, I'm creating it into existence. So that's going to take some time to go through internal committee and just see if everything follows constitutionally. And then I also have to do outreach to see who wants to be on the board and write those applications to see who is going to do it. And then I have to collaborate with the Native American Culture Center and go training and have those people within the board undergo some training with Ty and Tiff to just let them know our expectations. So that is my general timeline if this were to pass. That is my presentation. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing, Vice Chair Osterhout, and we'll open questions if there are any. 10 minutes of questions. All right, and obviously this will be going to committee, so you'll get the chance to see it there. I don't see any questions this evening, so with that, we'll go ahead and advance to, yeah, no questions, it looks like. Well, great work on this, Vice Chair Osterhout, and we'll go ahead and send this to Budgetary Committee and University Affairs. Does that sound good?
Yeah, can we also send it to internal as well?
Yeah,
Even though
absolutely.
they've
Chair
already seen
Hazelton?
it.
Yeah, of course. Chair Hazelton, do you accept that?
Yes, I accept.
Okay, sounds good. So Bill 5017 will go to Internal, University Affairs, and Budgetary.
Point of
Wonderful.
information, Mr. Speaker,
Yep.
Bill 5016.
Oh, did I say 7?
I believe so. I'm not sure, but that's what I heard.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. Because we put 5017 before. So this is 5016. We'll be going to Internal, Budgetary, and University. And Speaker Pro Tem Reyes, did we clarify for 5017 is just going to Budgetary?
That is correct, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, wonderful. All right, well, that was our last piece of legislation this evening, so we'll jump into legislative officer reports. Are there any legislative officer reports from Parliamentarian Clark, Officer Kropp, Speaker Pro Tem? Yeah, Speaker Pro Tem Reyes, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to let everyone know, again, if you are going to be absent for any reason, please let me know. Just say you need a mental health day, you've had issues going on, you have an exam, whatever it's going to be. I'm working through attendance every couple hours on every hour to every couple hours in the Senate meeting. So if you aren't here and I don't know why, aren't you absent? So please just let me know if there's any reason you're going to be absent. Other than that, I think that was it. Fill out online that you should have gotten in your inbox today if you are a graduating senior. For stoles, there is a survey that you need to take in order to pick up mail your stole to you. There's also a survey on polos as well as quarter zips if you're wanting either of those. So please fill those out. At the end of the semester, we'll have graduation speeches of those who are graduating. And yeah, so I think that's it. If anyone has questions, please feel free to email me or text me. My number's been out there multiple times. Yeah, I yield.
Thank you, Speaker Pro Tem. And I'll give just a quick announcement about the retreat. Obviously, it's next week, March 3rd. Like we mentioned, we've got SHAPE coming in, individuals from the SHAPE conference, Emily Ambrose and her team, some amazing workshops, everything relating from conflict resolution to communication to interpersonal dialogue. All of those things will kind of be encompassed in the retreat next week. I'll actually yield the Chief of Staff's loss. I'll quickly mention it is required. Yes, and Chief of Staff's loss will cover the time as well. It is required for senators and associates, and tentatively plan on a mini emergency session after Senate or before. I'll discuss with Senate leadership to see the feasibility of that. But with that, I'll pass it to you, Loss.
Yeah, Speaker Dixon kind of covered it, and so I don't want to be too redundant. I think we're looking to send out like a Ramlink RSVP for this Friday, so keep an eye out for that. Probably through the front desk is the best way. We're even looking at possibly trying to include this hybrid component that might have some parts in person for those that feel comfortable doing that and safely doing that with COVID regulations and guidelines. So really excited. Expecting to start around 4:30. 4:30 to 5 will be ASCSU information and kind of reviewing how we function. 5 to 5:50 will be a big team building and kind of connecting in a branch and all of us coming together and having some activities. Be a quick 10-minute break, and then we'll jump into the first hour is those session workshops that Speaker Dixon mentioned. And then the second hour will most likely make optional. So those that are worn out, it'll be 2.5 hours in. We totally understand. You're welcome to leave. But there'll be another hour of those workshops then after from 7 to 8. And that'll give opportunities for those working towards SHAPE mini certificates, those interested in engaging in further those conversations, those workshops, and those skill building activities. So we'll have more information coming out in the next few days. But yeah, I'm really excited. Can't wait. And I yield.
Chief of Staff. Thank you. Any other announcements, legislative officer reports? All right, hearing none, we'll go ahead and advance to Senator and Associate Senator reports. We'll try and keep this brief if possible, just relating to any legislation that's in the queue or work that you're doing with your office or college council. All right, seeing no hands raised.
Oh, Speaker Dixon.
Yeah, Chair Hazelton.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a really quick announcement. We had a couple of comments, and I want this to be just like just an overgeneralized topic. In your role as like ASCSU members, obviously, most of us represent college councils, but even if you don't represent your college council, going to your college council is like so important. And I can tell you that a lot of times, as someone who's like a very active member of my college council, even in a small college like mine, we're constantly looking for input, and we're constantly looking for like just advice from students for students. And I know y'all are looking for that too, but encouraging your classmates to see like, hey, go to college council, like listen to what they're talking about, because this is your student. A lot of times, like at least for my council, we delegate something like $25,000 to grants that help BMS students, or not BMS students, CVMBS students, which I guess is a but go and like talk to your UFAB representative, talk to your UTFAB representative, talk to your ATFAB. Is there something on campus that you want that maybe it's not tangible in this space, but it's tangible in another space? UTFAB right now has been talking about wireless networks. Do you want like outdoor space? I know I came to Senate talking about that at one point. Also looking at like just a lot of different ideas and concepts that may not be feasible in this space, but are feasible in other spaces, or at least they can get you to the right people. So please go to your college councils. Please reach out to your representatives and tell them how you feel. We had our at UFAB last year, the College of Business requested money for chairs, and he came to us and was like, do you want the College of Business to have new chairs? And sometimes it's like things as small as that. Sometimes it's things as big as Rams Against Hunger, getting a new place. So please like communicate with your representatives and encourage everyone else to, like everyone you know, to talk to their representatives, because at the end of the day, and you know this well because y'all are representatives, we're only as good as the student input we get. So yeah, that would be my 2 cents on that. Thank you. I yield my time.
Thank you, Chair Hazelton. Yeah, wonderful points on that. Chair Rossler.
Yeah, I just wanted to share a quick program that I'm really excited to be a part of that's actually happening tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. So there's a panel tomorrow. It's called The Things They Don't Tell You, a panel about Black women in higher education. I'm in a Black feminisms class, ETST 411, really cool. And we have the honor of being, our whole class has the honor of being facilitators for a bunch of really amazing Black women in higher education. And they're all going to share their experiences. Both Thursday tomorrow and Friday next week at noon. That one's going to be. And this is in honor of both Black History Month and Women's History Month that is about to be beginning. And I just wanted to encourage attendance. It's going to be really awesome. We get to ask our own personal questions that we've come up with through this class. And it's a really educational experience, both for us and for anybody who's able to attend. So I really, really encourage attendance.
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that. Chair Rossler, you said it was tomorrow at 12 p.m. and next Friday at 12 p.m.?
Tomorrow from 11 to 1, and then Friday of next week from 12 to 2.
Gotcha. Would you be able to send out that information in the chat as well, or links where folks can RSVP or Zoom links? Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. Over to Vice Chair Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to advise everyone to keep an eye out on their emails in the next few days. I'm hopefully going to be sending out a Google form through the front desk with an opportunity to join our ADA button task force, where we're going to be searching throughout campus for the ADA buttons across campus, seeing which ones are working, which ones aren't working, which are in compliance with which ones aren't. And it's a part of a larger project that we're doing in terms of trying to upgrade those buttons and make the campus as a whole more accessible for all of our students. So just keep an eye out on that. That will hopefully be taking place in the next few days, at least for signing up for it. So yeah, thank you. I yield.
Thank you, Vice Chair Robinson. Senator Lowry.
Yes, thank you. This Sunday at 10 a.m. I know a few of you have already signed up and RSVP'd for this, but we're doing a virtual photo shoot, video shoot for the UN ASCSU promotional video. If you're unsure about what that is, please feel free to reach out to me, Chair Tovar, or Vice Chair Jackson of the Diversity and Inclusion Caucus, and we'll be happy to fill you in on those details and how you can participate more fully. And that will be virtually. Sunday, 10 a.m. I yield.
Wonderful. Thank you, Senator Lowry. Any other comments on that? Otherwise, we'll jump to announcements, which will be very similar, obviously, in our agenda. Any announcements this evening relating to events on campus, things upcoming, opportunities for outreach? Speaker Pro Tem Reyes, you have the floor.
Hey, y'all. I just wanted to put it out there. Next month is Social Work Month. I am a social work major, for those of you who don't know. And so we have all kinds of amazing events, not just for social work majors, but for all majors. So there's on March 2nd at 4 p.m. supporting families through access to veterinary care. March 10th at 6 p.m. there's the Brad Schaefer lecture series. It's Neuro Decolonization and the Medicine Wheel, Indigenous Approach to Healing the Traumas of Colonialism. March 18th at 12 p.m. Turning the Tide, Preventing Arrests for People of Color. And March 29th at 12 p.m. Building Power in Communities with Newcomer Residents in Rural Colorado. So those events will count for office hours, as they have a lot of they have wide-reaching implications, especially the neurodecolonization one sounds really amazing. So if any of you are wanting that, I will put that, I will send that out in an email or post it somewhere so that people can see it. The Committee of Social Justice and the School of Social Work is amazing, and they're the ones putting on all these events. So thank you, I yield.
Thank you, Speaker Pro Tem Reyes. Could you drop the link to those events, or if there's a centralized platform that has all that information? That sounds amazing. And yeah, like you said, we'll make it optional for outreach hours.
I'll see if I can put it in the chat.
Okay, sounds good. With that, we believe we have Chief of Staff Sloss.
Quick point of information, was this legislative officers reports or general announcements?
General announcements.
Okay, so I'm free to speak real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Awesome. Thanks. I also just wanted to pass on a quick opportunity. It was passed on to me to reach out to our cabinet and offer it. So I figured I'd share it here too. I don't know if it already has. This is the Transforming Education So That Black Lives Matter with Jesse Hagopane, if I'm saying that correctly. I read about it. I unfortunately have a class at that time. I can't go, but it sounds like an awesome opportunity. It's $5 to register, and $25 if you want to support even more. Executive branch was going to support out of our discretionary money anyone that wanted to attend it. So I'm sure legislative might be interested in a similar situation. It's also $5 if you're interested, but seems just like a really awesome opportunity to engage and continue to expand understanding in our roles as in our organization and how we could continue to benefit students and diversity, equity, and inclusion. So if that interests anyone, there's the link. Feel free to reach out to me with any questions, or I can send you more info. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. Wonderful announcement. And I will look into that with Senate leadership. Yeah, the possibility of covering some folks to attend that. That was February 26th. Did I see on there?
It is tomorrow from 2 to 3 p.m. Mountain Standard Time.
Oh, that is tomorrow. Okay. Gotcha. Tomorrow, 2 to 3 p.m. Mountain Standard. Sounds good. Any final announcements? All right. Seeing none, that will advance to, let me get settled here. Advance to ending roll call. Speaker Pro Tem Reyes, whenever you're ready.
Yes, give me 1 second, Mr. Speaker.
Sounds good. Yeah, and like I mentioned, for those of you who are hanging on, I really do appreciate you all and your patience and your energy and sticking around. Keep in mind, any hours past 8:30 p.m. count towards your office and outreach hours. So just indicate that at the end of the week when you're filling out your reports. Let us know if you stayed on until the end of the meeting, in which case you will be able to access those benefits.
All right, we are done, Mr. Speaker.
All right, wonderful. Well, I'll stick around. Appreciate you all. Since it's over 2 hours, we won't do the fight song this evening, but this was a big night, right? We passed the Rams Against Hunger permanent home proposal. Go talk to your UFAB representatives, University Facility Fee Advisory Board. Let them know that March 4th is a big day and we want to see that passed by UFAB for $400,000. Yes, I appreciate you all. I'll stick around for any questions and have a wonderful week, okay?
Thank you.
Have a nice night, y'all.
Have a good night, y'all.
Good night, everyone.
For those who are watching on the live stream, I'll just quickly mention if you have any questions for me, you can feel free to reach out, ASCSU_Senate_speaker@mail.colostate.edu. We do love our underscores in our emails, so give us a shout out for that. We do appreciate you tuning in, and we know this was a big night. And if you have any questions for any of the authors of the legislation, I'd also encourage you to reach out. If you go to the ASCSU Senate webpage, ascsu.colostate/Senate, you can schedule some time with the lovely folks in this room, Senate leadership, many of whom were involved in that legislation for Rams Against Hunger. So feel free to reach out. We'd love to hear your voice, and I'll go ahead and end the live stream now.
Wait. Can I say hi to my parents?
Yes,
For
absolutely.
supporting
Chair
me.
Boyko.
Hi, Mom and Dad. Thanks for supporting me. Okay, you can end it now. Oh, and family in the UK. My family in the UK stayed up, got up really early to watch this. So,
Wow.
hi, cousins, and hi, Nana and Granddad, and I appreciate you.
Chair Boyko is feeling supported. That's what we love to see.